Okay, coffee, pizza, dinosaurs, and awesome times. Chevrolet, Toyota. Coffee mugs. Pizza parlors. Video games. Can you tell I'm having fun with this?
Josh G.
Live debates. Josh G. Hey, Josh. We are doing it live. For sure, for certain. We are going to host. I don't know if I can post my link or not on Destiny's chat. It's cool if I can't. I don't
Patrick
know
John Welder.
Is. No.
Evening
go
Nay.
Away. Somebody's like, no, go away. I'll block that person. I love the block feature on here. Ignore. Goodbye. Sure, but everyone is waiting for debate. Tiny will be on. I know. I am covering the debate as well.
Kevin Vaught. Hashtag NLRC. Cheers nay hashtag Ox Project. Good evening, bro.
They're telling me I can post a link in Destiny's chat. I can't believe it, man. I guess because he's on another. He's going to be on
Steven.
another podcast, so it's okay
Hello,
for me to
got
post
notifications.
a link. Hey, Steven, good. Kevin Vaught, hello. Patrick John Welder, hello, guys. All of you. Okay, let me get my link for them since they're saying it's okay. Nays Garden, you got to get in touch with Darius and learn how to leech properly. You guys all want me to. You guys want me to freaking debate. You know, a debater. I'm not a debater. I don't understand what. There's nothing to debate. This is the way I look at it. He's got his views and he's got every right to them. I've got my views. They might be different here and there, but I don't see, such disparaging gaps between Destiny's platform and mine. Out here pretending he's not a master debater. I am not a master debater. I don't debate people, man. I've only been in two actual debates my whole life. I wouldn't be surprised if Destiny's done like 100 or more. Maybe 500. And I've done 2. I am a simpleton. I'm a simple guy. And my ideas are my own. And I don't need to push them on anybody anymore with a debate. Because, it's like somebody said it so good in the chat earlier, in the roundtable chat. They said, Destiny's audience is going to walk away and say he won, and Rollo's audience is going to walk away and say he won. No one's opinions are going to change. Everyone's going to play their side. I understand that. I get it. I think people are here more for the entertaining factor of the debate itself, not necessarily the subject matter, or even allowing someone to try to change their mind or opinion on anything, because is it really important what they're going to be debating tonight? We went over it earlier on the earlier show. I discussed it and I said, I don't really see the big deal. I mean, you're pro-marriage or you're anti-marriage unless you're trying to ban marriage. Is this some kind of a Steven Crowder angle? Where he's like, women shouldn't be allowed to get a divorce. And so now red pillars are out there trying to bolster that angle. It's not going to work. And I really hope that's what this is, but I doubt it. I have no idea. I'm excited though, and I'm looking forward to hearing the conversation. Man, there's going to be 6 people on screen. That's going to be crazy. I'm excited. I'm kind of nervous actually. I kind of want to smoke, calm myself down a little bit. I've been working all night cleaning. I cleaned my studio last, but I cleaned the whole living room. I cleaned outside the home. We've got a driveway. It's a giant driveway with pavers, and I go out there with the blower and I blow all the leaves and pine needles and crap off of it and make it look really nice. And I go in the backyard. We've got flower beds, and I blow all the leaves up into the flower beds and make all the flower beds look really nice. And then I go to into the garage. We've got a big garage, so I blow out all the garage. And then I came in here and I vacuumed this area. Then I also blew out the kitchen. And I blew out the kitchen into this room where I could vacuum all the crap. Makes it really easy. And then the table's this big, thick glass table, and I sat there and cleaned that off and get it all shiny and beautiful, make the whole kitchen look beautiful. Everything's sparkling in there. And my mom walked in from, watching TV with my father, and she walked in the kitchen. She goes, "Wow, the kitchen looks amazing." And it just made me feel so good that she realized that, and that, it's something that she didn't have to do, and she likes it when things are clean and pretty. And it was easy for me because I used to be a car detailer. So I know how to clean stuff and get stuff shiny perfect. And, that glass table is my nemesis. I've never struggled so hard before to keep on anything clean in my life. This glass table it's my white whale. And, I had to take total command and control of the table. No, it hasn't started. 9 minutes. Minutes even. 9 of them. Eight minutes and 30 seconds. I'm so freaking excited. I gotta do a bong rip so I can calm down. I gotta calm myself down. All right, let's calm down, shall we? You guys want to calm down with a bong rip? And you guys are interested to watch the debate with me, I'm flattered. I will be able to use the chat over there at Rollo's Fresh and Fit. So that is the chat that's right here. So if you guys are over there and you're chatting, it'll come up here. And if I see it, I'll respond to it. And you want to, communicate with me, that's fine, man. At some point, I'm hoping that my audience picks up, at some point, I'm hoping. I'd like to get a larger audience, I'd like to have 40 or 50 people every time I go live. I'm not asking that much. What you guys are doing right now is amazing, so I'm forever in your debt. I know some of you don't like that, you don't like that I'm thankful, but I am. And oh my goodness gracious, I want you to know I'm not trying to troll you in that, I'm not. I could totally, I could see that as a troll, but I'm not. And I want you guys also know I got nothing but love and respect for you all. If you're questioning me because you think I'm coming over there to steal viewers and things like that, I'm not. I'm trying to work with the whole community. I am. I want to follow your rules. I want to be a part of it. And the people who are being dicks to me now, I'm just blocking them in the chat. There's no need for me to communicate with people like that. You want to give me a chance. I'm different. I'm new to your thing and whatever. I appreciate that, man. And I want you guys to know this, too. You come into our little tiny community and you'll be greeted with open arms. I want you to know that. Anytime you want to come over and visit, we're not going to... You come over and you're nice and shit like that to us, that's all I want is a few extra people watching, right? I can't do this with, and that's the sad thing. We were talking about earlier today, I'm like an old podcaster. I've kind of shot, the star, and now it's burnout, That's where I'm at. I'm kind of like a retired podcaster. And the only reason I'm here is just because I love doing it, and I really don't have the content anymore. And I get it. Because I'm tired. I'm tired of providing the content. I'm tired of fighting with people. I'm tired of arguing and screaming and yelling. I really am. It's gotten to the point where, today I got worked up, doing a YouTube survey, and I barely lost my temper. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what happened to me, man? Where did I go? Where's the fire? Where's the passion? I don't have it anymore. I don't let things get me that angry anymore. So if you just want to come for the chill, and you just want to come for the camaraderie and hanging out and shit like that, there's not going to be as much drama, man. I wish there was, man. I wish I could give you guys exactly what you wanted. I had a little drama today. I had a couple of little neighbors' dogs come over, and I had to go run them over to my neighbor's house. That was kind of dramatic and fun, right in the middle of a show. We had a bear come through the yard today, but I didn't get to see it. My mom spotted it. I was kind of sad I didn't get to see it.
Og420JR.
Hey.
Hi, Nay, just tuning in. Hope you're good.
What's up, buddy? We're about to watch this debate. It's going off in 4 minutes, man. Really excited to watch. Look, it says number 201. These guys have 1.3 million subscribers. I've got 8,000 fucking episodes, and they've got 201. Who's worked harder? God bless America. 8,000 freaking videos. How much time have I put in, 4 minutes, everyone's
Og420JR. I'm going to get that popcorn, just got off work too.
Alright, well, I'm going to hit this bong because I am so torqued up right now for this debate. So, I have no idea. I mean, I'm so curious to hear how they're going to approach this. Because we already went over it, and it literally took me 2 minutes to go through, maybe 3 minutes to go through the whole thing and go, what are they going to talk about for hours? I mean, if they just bring the facts, if this is about, correct me if I'm wrong, the debate is about, does marriage cause divorce? It's the dumbest premise for a debate I've ever heard in my entire life. Because, it's, yeah, I mean, without marriage, there wouldn't be divorce, of course. I mean, it's silly, isn't it? Isn't this kind of silly? Somebody fill me in. I must have the angle wrong. It's not, right? It's not, does marriage cause divorce? It's something else, right? Somebody want to tell me what the actual debate is going to be on? Did you see Tate tweeting about Destiny being a cuck? Zelly. No, I don't follow Andrew Tate because I think Andrew Tate's a cuck. And I don't care what Andrew Tate thinks about Destiny. I would take, I would take Destiny over Tate every time, unless they were going to be kickboxing.
Og420JR. I'm pretty interested about learning what this is about.
But Andrew Tate is a complete fucking moron. Why would I even be interested in anything he has to say? And why would I give a fuck whether he likes Destiny or not? Destiny does what Destiny does, man. It's his thing. People want to try to accuse Destiny of his lifestyle. Get over it. Doesn't seem to bother him. Sounds like the one with the problem is you, Tate. Ooh. Ooh. Do you think it's important for father to be physically present in their son's life during the adolescence and teen years? If so, how much in-person father-son time is necessary to raise a virtuous son? What a stupid fucking question. Oh my god. Someone spent $50 for that dumb shit. Okay. I mean, I'm glad they gave him the $50. But for $50, you could have at least given him a $50 question. Jeez Louise. Hey, man, we're almost there, guys. Wait, they bumped it up? Oh, dude, they fucking bumped it up. Those fuckers, dude. It's up to 15 minutes now. They bumped it, man. Rage.
Josh
Rage.
G. Sorry, do we know what they're debating?
Bro, rage. They fucking bumped us 15 minutes. Oh my god. Do we know what they're debating? Well, no one wants to tell me in the chat. But what I'm assuming is, what I heard it was over was, why is the clock going off? That clock should not be, oh, it's because all the lights are on in here. What I understand they're debating is, does marriage cause divorce? Like, what? It's like saying, does life cause death? You know? Do cars cause car accidents? Do guns cause gun crime? You know, does food cause obesity? Does exercise cause, weight loss? This is the dumbest shit. If that cannot be the debate, I must totally misread it, and I just want one person to set me straight, Oh, they're saying Rollo didn't show up. Everyone's going, loss. Rollo's not here. And guess who is here? Destiny. Destiny for the win, baby. Okay, he's already won the debate, as far as I'm concerned. And they're making him sit there, wait off screen, because this other guy's not there. Everyone is saying loss. Do you see all the L's, guys? That's Rollo's chat. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not Rollo's chat. I don't know who Rollo is. Isn't that funny? I'm looking at all those guys. I see Sneeko. I see Destiny. I don't know who the other four guys are. I don't know which one of those is Rollo. I'm assuming it's... I don't know. I don't want to assume. L Rollo. L. It's supposed to start at 9. L. Dude, do you know how many people? This is so disrespectful, man. So effing disrespectful. When you consider how many people are sitting here waiting for this, 8,194 people waiting on Fresh and Fit, and over on Destiny's chat, they got 2,200. There's more than 10,000 people waiting for this. There's more than 10,000 people sitting here waiting, and Rollo ain't here. What a loss. And look, if he's late for a personal reason or whatever, that's fine. And then everything I said is off. Sometimes shit happens. Dude, the chat is insane. I like how Destiny makes fun of the extreme RP. I don't know what RP is. Ideology. While he believes a woman's body count don't matter. RP. Makes fun of the RP ideology. What is RP? I don't know. Anyway, I didn't smoke, so I really need to because I'm all wound up, man. I am really wound up, and we're like 20 minutes into this live show presentation, and I have not smoked yet, so shame on me. And
Josh G.
Cheers.
Role playing.
Oh. Huh. Role playing. Huh. playing. Have you looked into the Israel situation? His ex-girlfriend of 2 years trying to take half his stuff. Adesanya. That's the UFC fighter, right? Israel Adesanya? Isn't that badass UFC fighter that beat the Spider? Dude, I thought I just saw Willie Bragg. No, looked like Willie Bragg with the red circle around it. Will ban you in her chat and claim she clapped you. Yeah, okay. Keep telling yourself that. She really does argue in bad faith. Huh. People are paying a lot of money to get these super chats up there, man, already. The thing hasn't even started yet. So they upped it 10 minutes. They haven't given a chat to tell anybody what's going on. And I'm assuming that this is a common thing for debates to start late, so it's really not that big of a deal, but people are just pissed. So we'll just see what happens. This over here, what is this? This doesn't have to be on screen. Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm waiting so long to do this bong rip. If you've been sitting there waiting to smoke with me, thank you. I love you for that. Let me know who the waiters are. Give me a 1 if you were a waiter. Cheers, guys. There's only 135 people watching on Rumble. Smoking with Grandpa. 2 Pro C, thank you, buddy. Love you. 2 Pro C, thank you. Grandpa can put him down, can he? I'm quite the smoker. Wait till I start getting my dab game on. That's just some flour. Some flour par. Vouch. How does the Vouch Destiny debates go, I wonder? And what kind of things do Vouch and Destiny debate? I fucking hate Vouch. I'd like to offer that my old 55-year-old ass cage match him for a charity. I don't know anything about fighting, but I think that me versus Vouch would be an awesome fight. I would love that. I would love that. Wouldn't that be a great idea? Trendy Nay, Old Man Nay versus frickin' Vouch. Just so I can do all the things to him that I've been wanting to do for so long. When I hear that silly little cunt open up his fat fucking hole, and you know, the cavalier, you know, the hypocrisy, the cavalierness, the highfalutin freaking smelling his own farts like lines of fucking crack cocaine up his shit face holes, just to hear the tone of his fucking voice. He gets off and it's like he's coming as soon as he starts listening to the sound of his own voice. That's what I get from him. That's it. I mean, I've never been able to get past that point to listen to almost anything he had to offer. And the very few times that I did pay attention, it wasn't making any sense. So, I've heard Destiny speak, and Destiny makes fucking sense. So, if Destiny and Vaush ever got into it, man, that's going to be the next thing I'm going to want to watch. I want to see Destiny just destroy that motherfucker over something. I don't care anything. Whatever. If they have disagreements on shit, and I hope they do. Do you guys know? Do you guys know if Vaush and Destiny disagree on anything major? Let me know. Maybe not. I figured we'd have some history in here. Somebody would know. How far along are we here? 5 minutes away? I hope they don't push it up again, man, because I just can't, my heart can't take this. We were supposed to be like way into this thing by now. One more bong rip. Dude, I am down. Euphoria, I am down. No law regarding cannabis, guys. Cheers. I cannot wait for this to start. Hey, look, it's 4:20. 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Perfect time to smoke. So cheers to all of you guys. Cheers.
Og 420 JR. I'm cooking RN, but cheers all trendies and nay. Royale. Have you ever had the strain Golden Goat?
No. Sounds good. What is it? We were just talking about today how there's so many new strain names out, we can't keep up with them all. But basically, wedding cake, oh my God. Once that birthday cake, wedding cake came out, I was like, this is what cannabis is all about. This is what can be achieved with breeding. You taste this stuff and you're like, you smell it and you're like, oh my God. It smells like frosting, man. And there's so many different strains that have so many great smells like that. Oh, I could name some of the most realistic ones where you smell them and it smells just like its name. Strawberry cough is one of the most dead-on strawberries you will ever have. You guys, if you ever hear the name strawberry cough and you have the ability to get a hold of that stuff, anyone in the chat right now can attest to it. They fucking taste like candied strawberries. When you smell it, when you smoke it, before you exhale it, you taste it in your lungs. It is so strawberry sweet. I can't imagine wanting to smoke anything else when you got that stuff. Strawberry cough. Anyone? Anyone down with the strawberry cough? Anyone down with the cough?
Og 420 JR.
Oh.
So good.
There's a bunch of blueberries out there. I am not a fan of DJ Short's blueberry. Okay? It hurts my throat. There is a strain out there. It's called Blueberry Muffins. And it tastes and smells just like blueberry Pop-Tarts.
Og 420 JR.
Which is...
I just got high by your description.
I got high by... Listen. Blueberry muffins. You can literally smell...
Recommend me a stray.
Dude, blueberry muffins, old school, bro. Orange Bud. Get Orange Bud. Find Orange Bud. It's one of the older strains, and it is orange, man. It's sweet, sugary, tasty, freaking orange. It's crazy. And then after a while, after you've had it for a while and it's cured really good, it gets more like orange peel. it tastes and smells like orange peel, but it does. It's like it like ferments or something. You know, it doesn't ferment, but it breaks down a little bit, and then it becomes that. And I could name a couple other strains, man, that are just must tries. You gotta try these if you can get a hold of them. You know, definitely birthday cake or wedding cake. The strawberry cough, the blueberry muffins. This one, it's called cherry pie and Candy Kush. Check those out. You know, Girl Scout cookies.
Purple punch.
Yeah, I'm not too crazy with the purples because of the effect they have on me. You know, there's sativas out there that I freaking love the flavors of. I'd much rather go with those flavors because basically the only thing you're giving up with indicas is freaking grape flavor for them. And there's chocolates too. There's coffee. Okay, there's coffee, there's chocolate. Yeah, for sure. And but when you get into the hazes, bro, lemon haze, mango haze is insane. Grapefruit, just the strain grapefruit, it tastes just like fucking grapefruit. It really does. You know, those kinds of strains that have those flavors where the names are accurate, that's my favorite shit, bro.
Og 420 JR. Dosi Lotto.
Yeah, I'm not as crazy about the dosis, not as crazy about the gelatos. None of those are. That's not as. They're great. Don't get me wrong.
Og 420
but that's
JR.
not the ones that I go for.
You are so right about the orange bud.
I'm not down with the fuely ones either. I'm all about the fruity flavors. You know, and the chocolate's not bad, dude. We're waiting. This is supposed to be going now, and they're not live. Everyone spam L's. Oh my god, dude. Dude. Lcast. Lcast. That's the best L. Lcast.
Og 420 JR. Ice cream cake is literally my favorite.
Hashtag Lcast.
Restream.io. Congratulations. You've received 100 messages today with Restream chat.
Send him a $500 super chat and say Lcast. Hashtag Lcast.
Royale. What about a fat half-am dab right now?
Royale, I can't do big dabs like that, you know? I'm past my prime, so to speak. I'm 55 years old.
Royale. Be a man.
No, I'm not. I'm a pussy. Dude, listen, Royale, I'm going to hook you up, bro. Are you on IG? Check out Pinoy Grower 710 on IG. You want someone who's going to be doing gram dabs for you, bro? He's the one that hooked me up with all of this fucking dope shit. Most of it. He's the man, bro. That motherfucker dabs down, son. He does it, bro. He does it when you're just chilling with him. Like if we're just me and him hanging out, he's like, yeah, you want to dab? Yeah, we'll be on the phones, you know, and I'll get my rig ready and he'll get a dab ready and he'll put his fucking worm in, bro, and I'm just watching in amazement. I'm just like, dude, you're a fucking maniac. He's a maniac. Pinoy Grower 710 on Instagram. Pinoy Grower 710 on Instagram. Pinoy Grower 710 on Instagram. He'll stand in my stead. Okay? He represents me. Okay? You want to see someone do a big dab? He's my Sir Galahad, bro. He'll go stand in for me. while I kick back on my throne and say, watch that dab. Bro, that and the fact that my mom is asleep in the next room, and that's kind of why I'm talking. I don't have to talk like this. I've got all my sound deadening on right now for the most part. I mean, I took the tops off for ventilation, but I should be okay because I've got all the blinds down, so there's no reverberation in here for my voice. So I should be able to talk at a reasonable, even once the debate starts, we should be okay. So, you know, I was thinking about reaching out to Destiny because I really haven't so much. You guys, how good is Destiny on guitar? If from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being Eddie Van Halen, and 1 being you can pluck one string sometimes, where is Destiny on the guitar scale? I probably put myself at like a high 4, like a 4.7.
Royale. He's pretty bad.
So you'd give him what? Give him a ranking 1 to 10. 10 being Eddie Van Halen, and 1 being plunk, plunk, the reason I ask is I thought maybe I could give Destiny a guitar lesson, you know, over the internet. Because we don't need to be fucking face to face, you know? And we got cameras, bro. And it's even better is that I'm fucking left-handed, so it's like, for him, it's like looking in a mirror. Which makes it really easy to teach people things when you're a left-handed guitar player and they're right-handed. Because you get right in front of them, and your necks line up, and your fingers line up, and they can see exactly how high up, how many frets up they're supposed to put their fingers, and which finger goes where. It's really, you don't have to convert it over backwards. You know, like when you're looking at this, it's freaking way harder. When a righty is showing a righty, it sucks. But a lefty showing a righty, it's pretty cool. So if he's a beginner, I could teach him to do some fucking badass guitar playing really fast. I could teach him all the fucking tricks so quick. So I was thinking if he wanted to learn to play guitar, like if there was a specific song he wanted to learn or a specific kind of music, there we go.
The blog anticipated debate between Rollo Tomasi, Marco Sartain, Sneeko, and Destiny. Let's get into it. Let's go!
Dude, this is almost like it reminds you of like something out of Japan, like a cartoon from Japan music.
We are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Fresh Fit Podcast, man. It's a special day. It's Monday, but we got some special. We canceled the after hours. We're gonna have a debate. You guys been waiting for this one for a while. We canceled the after hours. We're gonna have a debate. You guys been waiting
Miami
for a
Vice.
while. Rumble.com/FreshFit. Check us out over there, guys, because you know we'll probably get canceled any day now with Sneeko, and he's over there on Rumble as well. Rumble.com/Sneeko. So go check him out.
Yes, sir.
Over there. It's the future.
And Kai and Speed just joined Rumble too, so it's really taken over. All the people that were doubting, everybody that's talking about Kick, I know Aiden's panicking right now because Rumble's looking really good. Kai and Speed, two of the biggest Gen Z streamers, are going to be a huge demographic coming over.
Thanks.
Join Rumble before it's too late because things are really about to really start to.
I'm already on Rumble.
It's a new wave, man. Freshfit.locals.com, guys. Go check us out over there as well. Also, we're on Megaphone. So if you guys want to listen to the podcast audio version, make sure to wear headphones so you don't get fired at your job. Get the merch, fresh at podcaststore.com. I got my Chris the Bum shirt on, my favorite one, because Chris definitely is a bum and he doesn't even know how to manage correctly. Now, Chris, once again, bro. You know what's funny? He's the one that set the cameras up.
Hey,
oh
nigga,
my
it's
God, man.
new angles, man. New
You
players.
stupid. Come on, man.
Vasectomy.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
hey, do a line.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's the excuse to use every time. And then also, guys, get freshpodcaststore.com. Definitely go get a Chris the Bum shirt after that one.
Yeah.
And then also check out our Clips channel, guys, Fresh Fit Clips. And then also check out our other channel, more Fresh Fit Clips. Check out Fresh the Vlog.
Yep. Guys, for vlogs, man, funny shorts, go check it out. Guys, join the network, man. Add value, get value.
Sorry
Let's
about the
go.
audio.
And then Myron's channel.
It's fixed.
Fed 1811, as you guys know, I break down criminal cases. Actually, I changed it to Fed Reacts.
Fed Reacts.
It's called Fed Reacts now, guys. So go ahead and check it out. The last episode I did was, God damn it,
Mafia?
Golden State. Yeah, Golden State Killer. Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
I did the Golden State Killer yesterday. He went on the run for like 30, 40 years. It took forever for them to catch him, but they finally did through DNA. So if you guys want to go check that out, go check it out, Fed Reacts. And then I'm going to be dropping Al Capone and the Outfit on Thursday this week. And yeah, and then I won't be in town, guys. So you guys are actually going to get a special show with these guys
Yeah, it's
without
gonna
me
be
here on Friday.
Rollo,
That'll be
Sartine,
fun.
and myself.
Yes.
Running the show.
And
And
then,
Fresh?
Uh-oh.
On the show?
and Sneeko might come with somebody too.
Bruh.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? We might have something for y'all. But anything else? Oh yeah, get my book, guys. Why Women Deserve Less.
Oh, you
And,
guys.
I'll
That's
go
a great
ahead and read
cover, by the
chats.
way.
And then
Where
also,
where
all the
are
guys-
they?
All their links are below, guys. Go support them down below. I got their Rumbles, their YouTubes, etc. Destiny, Sneeko, Rollo, Tomasi, and Michael Sartain. So I'll read these chats real quick. From this point forward, guys, we're not going to read anything outside of $100 and up, because
Bruh.
obviously we want to make sure that we have the debate going nice and smoothly. Just so you guys know, me and Fresh are not going to participate. We're just going to simply moderate.
Yeah,
I
mediate.
got a couple topics here at hand, but let me read these and I'll give you guys the ground rules. Jordan 14 goes, Sneeko too focused on a vasectomy last time. The point is not to have kids when you're broke and haven't built yourself up yet and can't provide. Not every man is young and successful like you are. Well, sir, you will be armchair debating somewhere else, because don't worry. Colin Stevens goes, you should ask the resident blue-haired cuck if he still supports the position on ethical CP. Have him elaborate and see if the panel agrees. That's not today's topic, my friend. Manuel J. Hernandez, Destiny likes men unless his chick get ran through. Not the best guy to get advice from. Be a man. Okay, Mulan. We got Fresh's stutter. Stutter. I didn't get invited to the round table again. El Fresh, I hope you haven't skipped any therapy sessions.
Let's
Or-
go.
Thank you, sir.
You've been skipping them sessions.
Let's go.
And he did come late, by the way, too.
CPT.
Yeah, he definitely did come late.
My dog's
Master
growling
Excellence
in his
goes,
sleep
Fresh for
again.
Destiny. You think it's important for a father to be physically present in their son's
Psychically.
life? Particularly. What?
Psychically.
Oh, psychically. Oh, shit.
They
Okay.
probably meant physically, I'd imagine.
Maybe.
But maybe they're that kind of person.
Yeah,
too.
let's use grammar with some of
Present
these.
in their son's life, particularly during the adolescence and teen years. If so, how much in-person father-son time is necessary to raise a virtuous son? That might come up in today's topic. Zorino goes, I'd like to hear Sneeko and others answer this. Is Leonardo DiCaprio a high-value man for scoring with 19-year-old models in his late 40s without having kids? Don't worry, we'll talk about that. 0259 goes, I like how Destiny makes fun of extreme RP ideology while he believes a woman's body count don't matter. Okay?
We're gonna get to
Zorino
that today
again.
too.
Myron, would you say Destiny fits the description of a placeholder husband and he's just coping when he says he's cool with his girl cheating on him? No, whatever, man. Y'all asking me
This
these
is about
questions.
them, guys,
This
not
is about
us.
them. Come on, man.
Yeah, man.
Derek Stacy, $20. Have y'all looked into the Israel
Adesanya.
situation yet?
Stop Bender. The UFC guy with the girl.
Oh,
Once-
yeah, we'll cover that probably next week.
We will, yeah.
His
His
ex-girlfriend of 2 years is trying to take half his stuff.
No
kids,
kids.
no marriage. P Clown World, FNFW, Sneeko, W Destiny, W.
Adesanya, I'll pay for all your lawyer fees to beat this case.
Oh, that's crazy, bro. That
we
she's
can
even
look into it
trying.
then. Good.
Hey, you're supposed to moderate, man. Be quiet.
So Myron and Sneeko, vasectomy is not a solution. Better advice would be to make a bunch of money and leave the U.S. Okay. Samuel L. Goes, Lyra Gonzalo has been arrested again by Ukrainian SBU at gunpoint.
Really?
There's a video. He needs your public support and the social pressure to save his life. Please bring attention to this extremely important fact. God help Lyra. God
Wow.
damn, bro.
Is that like
Shit.
for the third time or the second time?
Yeah, it's the second time.
Second
he got
time,
arrested
Maybe
by
the
that.
last time.
That we know about.
They're hating over there in
I
Ukraine.
saw it
man.
the second time. I didn't know there was
Charlie Jones, hi, I love Funna. Rollo's explanation of the tweet didn't make sense. He said a high value man is subjective to you, which it's not. Don't worry, we're going to actually define that
we'll
at the
get
top
to
of the
that.
show. High value man is objective based on the marketplace of society. Otherwise, everyone is high value man based off our own subjectivity. All right. And then Nate Diaz goes, Destiny mind fucks women and keeps them on the line with blue pill game. His wife is just a trophy 304. He's admitted last pod that he doesn't really care about marriage. Rollo at least lives life. S and D say you should.
Suck and dick.
Okay, I don't know what that
What?
means.
I don't think that's what the N is for.
That's
Yeah.
I don't think that's what.
Sneeko Phil Alpha getting the French girl's number who he won't wife yet lectures F and F that high value men should want more than just sex. Is your Pat's hypocrisy padded with sermonizing?
You guys are in too deep. Like these super chats are just way. I get a girl's
No,
number
this
on
is
a
good.
show.
This is where you're humbled at the beginning of the show, right here. Yeah.
Don't worry.
Any more about me sucking dick, or?
Those haven't come yet.
Well, the good news is I have control over the
Coach
volume.
Adams on the show, by the way, I've been following ever since he got on, and 40K subs. When anyone in this table hold a debate with CGA, we agree with a lot of his points. Man.
You know, if Sneeko starts talking smack, we can fucking mute his prick ass.
First, it was actually Chris Fresh. First super chat.
Was
been watching
scissoring
since
Sneeko's girl?
What
Yes.
the hell?
You guys have brought so much Bites My Life credit. Score over 750. Got me some business credit. I appreciate it.
Hopefully he'll be forced to make sense, you know, because there's so many people.
Chris.
Yeah, these are before, but it's fine though.
Okay.
But if they're all like, you know, right wingers, then I don't know.
Considering how he changes his mind every week, what if?
Damn.
What
Change his
kind of
mind. Like,
flowers he
tell me exactly what I changed my mind on.
So
Did anyone ever say that, or just like I'm a leaf blowing
Just
in the wind?
Oh,
It's
shit.
just like-
Sneako's already he's already gone.
They just ignore them, bro. I'm just reading through these.
Well, you guys kind of agreed with that point of view, but it's okay. It's okay.
Where we at here?
20 up?
Fresh
No, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
Thank God. No, we're going 100 up from.
No, but it's still.
Oh, these came from before.
Yeah,
bro.
Okay.
I gotta
Thank God,
turn
Fresh
these
ain't
lights
talking.
off.
Sorry,
I'll be
homie,
right
and why
back.
Sneeko looking extra Asian all of a sudden?
You
knew the
look
jokes were
extra
coming.
black always.
All right, Mark, go ahead.
This is true. Okay, so quick little. So here's a summary of what's going to go on, guys. As you guys know, they have some disagreements on some things. We're going to go ahead and moderate the debate. Me and Fresh will not be jumping in. We are simply going to be here to moderate. We're going to cover 4 main topics: the vasectomy tweet, dual mating strategy, divorce, and promiscuity. But to kick it off, we're going to go ahead and define certain terms: high value man, alpha male, hypergamy. Do you guys want to introduce yourself to the people real quick?
Yeah, real quick.
I think probably everybody knows who I am. Rollo Tomasi, I'm the author of the 5 books that are the Rational Male series books.
I'm Michael Sartain. I'm a former U.S. military officer. I flew 5 years special ops, 2 years counterintelligence, and now I have a performance coaching program, and then I host a podcast with him where we discuss evolutionary psychology.
Access Vegas.
Destiny.
I'm Steve Bunnell. I host politics YouTube, philosophy YouTube, and video games on YouTube, youtube.com/Destiny. I've been doing this for about 13 years.
All right.
Sneeko, canceled streamer on Rumble, and certified douche nozzle.
There you go.
I didn't say it better myself.
That is correct.
Fantastic. So, guys, all the chats are going to be shown on screen. However, we're only going to read the ones that are 100 and up, just so that we can make sure that we get through this debate. So, first, we're going to start with defining what a high value man is, alpha male, and hypergamy. And then we're going to come to a basically an agreed upon definition for the table, so that way nothing is lost in translation during the course of the conversation. We already got 20,000 y'all in here, so do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and then subscribe to everyone's channel here. Sneeko on Rumble, Destiny on YouTube,
Access
Rollo
Vegas,
on YouTube,
Rollo.
and Michael Sortain on YouTube as well. Their links are below. And then,
Pretty much
so
it.
we'll go ahead and, so who
Do
wants
we-
to kick it off with defining high value man?
Before we define things, I
Please.
wrote like 6 things down so we can all agree on things. So we have like a common base going
Okay,
for it.
go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. So I wrote 6 rules that I hope we can all kind of adhere to for this conversation.
Yes.
So for the first one, all of us here are trying to approach some notion of what is true in terms of what we're
Yes.
analyzing. We're not
Yeah.
here to make fun of each other, scream at each other, be emotional, whatever, but we're trying to figure out what the most true shit is, essentially, right? Number 1. Number 2, I personally think we should move through arguments point by point rather than like diatribing for 5 or 10 minutes so
Yes.
that the other time, because you don't want to start off a point where somebody already disagrees and then talk for another 5 or 10 minutes. And so if I'm saying something or Sneeko's saying something or you guys saying something, if you disagree, just be like, hey, let's talk about this thing before we rattle on a ton. Okay. Number 3, because I hear this accusation a lot, if anybody feels like there's a debate tactic in the room, call it out, and we've got the moderators here. If somebody feels like they're straw manning or appealing to emotion or false authority or whatever, say like, hey, hold on, I don't like that. Point it out. Nobody should be leaving here and then in 2 weeks being like, there was a lot of debate tactics going on. Call it out if you see it, and we'll address it right here.
Yep.
Okay. Number 4, we've kind of already addressed this. So words have to have meaning when we're having these conversations. So even if we want to say that a feeling about a particular word is subjective or whatever, we all have to agree on that. Otherwise, we're going to be lost in the sauce if we're all like arguing, what does it mean to be alpha or beta? And we all have like 4 different definitions working. Okay. And then 2 more. 5 is trying to keep this as scientific as possible. So if somebody says like, well, there was a study in England with 33 million participants, and another guy's like, well, on Instagram I saw 2 stories. Okay, let's try to keep it like as I know you do a lot of scientific stuff. I know you've done a lot of reading. Sneeko is very scientific here with his Quran. So let's try to keep it as based as possible.
Don't hit it
And
like that.
oh, I'm so sorry. I was kidding. My bad. Okay, and then final point. if some side feels like they're not being understood, or if they feel like their points are being misconstrued, ask the other side to just like state like, hey, what do you think I just said? Or hey, what do you think I think about this particular thing? And then the other side will try to restate the argument so that we're all on the same page. Okay, so roughly speaking, just to keep it, yeah, okay.
No,
We all
I mean,
cool? Okay.
definitely, and you know, we'll stay away from that homonyms and keep it as cordial as possible.
Cool.
So yeah, we'll start with.
And now we lost half of the viewers.
All right, so we'll start with defining what a high value man is, and then also real quick, when we're making arguments, or whatever, I'll be timing you guys at least on the vasectomy part. We're going to cover that first. But let's define
Should we
what a high
also
value man is.
mention how this started from last show or no?
No, they know.
Okay.
They definitely
Trust me, there's
All right.
20,000 people they know.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So let's
Bong
define
rip.
high value man. Who wants to take the first crack at it so everyone can at the
I
table can
need
agree
one
what it
high
is?
value man.
I'll go.
What's a
Got one,
high
go.
value
So,
man?
Of course, everybody wants to like nail me on what's a high value man. Okay, so I could have said this on our last
Cheers.
engagement here: is that a high value man is the man that other men want to be and other women want to fuck. That's straight out of my, I think it was my third book or my second book. Okay, that's too broad a definition, I think. So I could have just simply said that. People ask me all the time in the tweet or on Twitter and social media afterwards, like,
That's
why
high
don't you just
value or
simply
that's
say that?
popular and
Well,
sexy?
The problem with that is because once you get past that, it's a little bit too broad of a definition. So I did a little bit of homework on the way over here on the plane, and we generally go to the female delusion calculator on our show, and you guys have used the female delusion calculator as well. So what is a high value man? Well, we've asked that question quite a bit from pretty much every girl that we've had on our show. Now, should it be defined by women? Maybe, maybe not, but there's a criteria there that forms the basis, I would say, like just the core principle of what is a high value man. So when we go through that, we go and we say, okay, well, how tall is that guy? How much money does that guy make?
How tall
What
is that guy?
Is he obese? Is he like? And there's very specific details that go into that, and then
This is
through that we say, okay, well,
silly.
that represents what, like
Everyone's
0.02% of the population.
Yeah, I mean, if you're specific, we're talking about the GSS survey, or not the GSS.
No,
the
CDC,
CDC
yeah,
stuff,
and
yes.
census
Yeah.
and
Got it,
census
yeah.
stuff. So we always, and you guys do the same thing when we are looking to establish what is a high value man, at least as far as what women are looking for at that time. And I'm saying that there's another definition for guys as well. As I said, it's other men want to be and other women want to have sex with.
So what parameters would you?
Exactly. Good question.
So not any of the guys in that room right now.
You had Kevin Samuel sitting right here, and one of the things he said is that the guy must make something like $10,000 a month, I believe is what it was.
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly. So that comes out to $120,000 a year. Can we agree that if you make $120,000 a year, would that make, like, as far as money is concerned, would that make you a high value guy?
I think it depends on where you are. Like if you're in Manhattan, I think that would be problematic. If you're in Wichita, Kansas, that's a lot of money.
Okay, so
I think I'll give a very broad definition. I think we can all agree on this. I think in the broadest sense, when we talk about men, we talk about what a high value man is, we think about what men are designed to do. I think that a high value man is somebody that can partition or acquire a lot of resources.
Okay.
In the broadest of senses. And that can be done in a lot of ways.
Do we want to put a specific number on those resources?
I think a lot is relative, so it's going to be more than your fellow guy.
Right,
so if you make $120,000 a year in Kansas, you're the fucking king.
Correct.
If you make $120,000 years in San Francisco,
Yes.
your neighbor is probably a crackhead. Right?
Yeah, so
it just
the thing
depends
is,
on.
your argument last time was the subjectivity of what
Everybody's
you were saying.
neighbor in
That's
San
the
Francisco
thing.
is
No matter what
subjective.
number we say is a subjectivity. For me, high value man is going to be the guy who puts fitness first. He's going to have
Hey,
a job
Tula.
that's scalable, where he's doing something that he loves, and he's going to have his options on what woman that he can date. Now, if you were to look at that and say, like, for instance, I like Grego Gallagher. I'm a big fan of How to Beast. Brandon Carter is a buddy of mine. Wes Watson, Goggins, what's his name? Jocko Willink. Those guys I consider to be high value men. The thing is, though, if Grego Gallagher is dating a woman with breast implants and fucking plastic surgery, another person who has different religious beliefs is going to be like, no, that's haram. That's bad. So that's the thing. It's the subjectivity of it.
Sure, I think important to keep in mind is when we say value, we're implying some sort of exchange between multiple people. So
Right.
like a moral man or a virtuous man
Yeah.
might be way different than a high value man. We can all probably think of people
But-
that
but hold on.
are very virtuous or moral.
Wouldn't someone
right? Yeah.
virtuous who goes by the Quran then have a different definition? Like, for instance, you guys had an argument before about family creation. If several of those guys I just mentioned, they are not interested in family creation. They're interested in being the most attractive.
I think the whole concept of human beings having some certain value attributed to them is fucking psychotic. I'm just going to throw that out there. I think all of these guys are fucking crazy to be thinking that they have to define some sort of attributes that make a person, fit their description of what they should be. It is fucking weird. Man, everybody has value. Every single human being has value. That's what's up, man.
Acquisition. The subjective part is, what do you need to acquire resources? So for instance, we say fitness, right? Fitness could be a
Hey,
proxy
666
for acquiring
Marlboro
resources.
Man,
If
what's
you're hunting
up?
in the wilderness, a more fit
Yo,
guy can climb a tree,
TFN.
kill a bear, whatever. But in some societies, fitness isn't a proxy for how much money you make, right? I imagine that on average, there's probably a lot of really
Everybody's a
wealthy people that are
method,
not.
it's
I don't know how much Bill Gates can bench press, right? But for resource acquisition, he's very, very, very valuable. So, and then also, I think we have to keep in mind, when I say high value, and I know Rollo likes to do this a lot, and so I'm going to try to play in this realm, I'm not trying to morally load any of these words. A high value man, so this question got asked, right?
You mean just supply and demand?
Yeah. So Epstein was a high value man.
Yeah, okay, I
but
got you.
obviously morally a horrible
bankrupt, of
character,
course,
right?
okay.
And there's going to be a lot of high value people that have a lot of value in society in terms of how much resource they can demand, right? Or Genghis Khan or whatever, who are morally deplorable people. And there's going to be a lot of very morally righteous people, virtuous people, who don't really possess a lot of value. Maybe it's a carpenter, or maybe
If
it's
I
a
can
cook, right?
intervene real fast,
Yeah.
I think one thing that we can all agree to, right, is I agree that it's immoral, right? A guy being high value, so it could be someone
Or amoral.
Amoral. It could be someone that's good or bad. But I would say this: respected by peers, has a skill set, he has a network of successful men around him, and we could say $100,000 per year. But we'll say, let's say if you make $100,000 per year, and let's say like maybe a Kansas living type quality.
Sure. So those
right?
are all subjective, but we'd all probably agree in the
Yeah,
West.
so
That'll get you to probably
so I
about
would say
that.
we'd agree on the
that
vector.
comes closer.
Yeah,
is what
sure.
I mean.
Yeah.
We'd agree on the vector. Sure.
And you seem to be agreeing with Myron now, but you also said last time that Elon Musk is not a high value man. Ben Shapiro's not
From a particular context, no, he's not.
From what context?
Well, from the context that he is not married, is a high value man married.
That has nothing to do with being married or not.
Well, it does to the definition that other people
Do you
use,
think
though.
other people think that being a high value man would have some
So
correlation
according
to
to
being
him,
married?
this is so
Kids.
stupid.
I would
and
say
Some
keep it
people would
simple,
say
guys.
because the tweet.
Now the guy who said it's every woman wants to fuck, every woman wants to fuck a married man? Are you fucking kidding me?
I think for the purpose of this debate, we want to probably keep it as simple as possible, so that it isn't extremely nuanced definition. I think if the person is married or not, should it matter? I think it should be
because
on
if you're
things that
married,
we can
you're
all mutually agree.
unavailable.
Like,
Or how
okay,
about we can agree that a person of high value probably has the ability to get married and have a lot of children, but they might not necessarily.
If they choose
right?
not to do so, that's on them.
How do I get in Destiny's earpiece? I want to be in Destiny's earpiece talking to him. Yo, dude, say this, bro. Say this.
Network people. He had politicians in his pocket. He had quite a bit of money. He had a skill
He
set.
probably had a vasectomy too.
Yeah, probably.
Shout out to the
maybe.
CIA. Shout out
Right?
to the CIA.
He did have a skill set.
by now.
He did have a skill set, and he earned a good amount of money. So on paper, he's a high value guy, and I think that's something that we can all agree to. So we can. Fair enough. Okay, so we'll
Let's
go
do a
off of
dab.
respected by peers, has a skill set, network of other successful people around him. Morality doesn't matter, and we could say $100,000, if not more. And when we talk about $100,000, we don't mean $100,000, but we mean the ability to live in a certain way. Fair?
Cost of living adjustment.
Yeah, cost of living adjustment. Fair enough?
Consistently.
Can I tell you? Oh,
Yeah,
you're
you
probably going to say that. You're probably going to say the same thing I'm going to say.
Go ahead.
Okay, so but he also has to use
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Utilities. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Competency. Yeah.
right. So there's a competency. So is a high value man educated?
Well, so
Formally
competency
educated.
again is going to be valued by society. So, for instance, I can change a light bulb, but I can't fix a toilet. So my competency in the household is going to be relatively low. But as an entertainer, my competency is very high. And it happens to be valued by society right now. And in other society, I might just be left for dead in the woods. So competencies and. Same,
So again,
you can probably
subjective
find
to who's doing the
exactly. You can
evaluations.
find the best hunter possible in sub-Saharan Africa and bring to the United States, and he's not going to do shit. Right?
So I think education has to be a component. I think if they're like a doctor,
Education could be a way towards competency. There's lots of different ways to build competency. Right?
Okay, cool. So is that fair with all you guys?
Yeah, competency
So
for
one
sure.
more time. So just to define for the audience here, when we talk about high value guy, we're talking about someone that's respected by their peers, has a skill set, has competence, has a network of other successful men that respect them, and we'll say $100,000 per year, bare minimum, based on living a certain way. Not necessarily $100,000 per se, but $100K per year, just so you guys have a placeholder. Now we go into alpha male. I mean, I don't use this. We don't use this term that often, but I, mean,
think
just
people
for the
outside
purposes.
the
because
space
we-
use it a lot.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why we're talking about high value male, because that's kind of what has replaced alpha male over the years. Like,
Alpha male is the dude that can knock out every other male in the room. That's the alpha male.
So do you guys want to just use HVM?
And alpha males are always, it's always relative to whatever environment that is. In other words, there's a bigger circle where some other motherfucker is going to be able to knock that motherfucker out. That guy's more alpha, right?
Because when, yeah,
Yeah,
that'll
okay.
that's a whole line of questioning.
Okay. And then hypergamy. How do you guys want to define
let me
hypergamy?
do one more real quick on the,
Yeah.
the useful side of things, because I had a list of other things here. So it was like, as far as being useful and
You guys know
I
Laurie
wanted
Cody
to ask
Cannabis.
the
Cheers,
education
everybody.
question. The other thing is, you got to be productive. Obviously, you got to be at least what do I say, a productive member of society. Would that also be included in the conventional?
It is, but
idea
all of
what a
these
high
things
value
are
man-
proxies for value. So again, I'm very productive, but it's just because people like entertainment. In another society, I would have no production.
And that's where the respect
right?
comes in.
Yeah.
Because your productivity will align to some.
Yeah.
And then the other aspect of this is recognition. So people, when they see you, they understand that you are high value in some way. Like they go,
Almost
we're-
every human
well,
is wired for
people-
resources. so-
Exactly, but we're also plugging that person into a hierarchy.
Well,
when we
I
do
think
that.
it depends on which hierarchy. Like he said before,
Exactly,
if
and
he goes to a mechanic shop.
that's a subjective thing that we're trying
An
to.
extreme example would be like Stephen Hawking, right? Who had motor neuron disorder, was relegated to a wheelchair, but was one of the smartest men who ever lived. That would be an example of someone who's super competent, but in other areas isn't competent. I would consider him a high value man, but he couldn't walk. So that's an interesting. That's what the subjectivity.
Every human being
All right.
has value.
Cool. So I guess alpha male will deal for later, and then hypergamy. How do you guys want to define that, just so we understand here? Because I mean, it's an ever-growing term. It used to be the
Every human
practice of
being
marrying
has
up originally.
value.
So how do you guys want to
There's-
deal for
well, okay, so,
It's like,
so let me
you
just
can't
see if I can
believe there's-
define terms here. Okay, so the classic understanding.
Levels.
If you go and you look in the dictionary, you go to Wikipedia right now. The classic understanding of hypergamy, to the letter, is it was a term that was used by a sociologist. I want to say it was in the 1950s, and he was studying
Is this some
the caste system
Jordan Peterson
in
bullshit?
India. In India,
Yeah.
in Hindu cultures, and how the tenets
Is the concept of a high value man from Jordan Peterson?
higher caste. That was based primarily on the socioeconomic status of that person and that family and everything else, and that's the original idea came from. So it's based primarily on sort of like the provisioning, protection, and parental investment. It's dowries, it's marriage, it's the formalization of like a relationship. In the last, I would say, 20 some odd years, we've broadened the definition of hypergamy to include the alpha fucks beta buck side of things. Okay, so there is the short-term sexual side of things, because women mate up, across, and up, as well as marry across and up. And as far as the definition is concerned, I've been trying to do this myself, right, is to expand the definition. But also, people like Jordan Peterson have been using that expanded definition for probably going on another 5 or 6 years right now.
Okay. So
So that would be my definition of it.
Can I?
Okay, so to boil it down, will we say the practice of marrying and/or dating up when it comes to socioeconomic?
the attempt. The attempt.
The attempt.
Yeah,
The attempt. So this is what so I'm going to come from an evolutionary standpoint. There is some algorithm that men, Homo sapien males, have to where they can see a woman and be like, that woman's attractive immediately. It's not something that's taught to them. They know immediately that
She
woman is
passes the
attractive.
boner test.
She passes it exactly very quickly. There must be some correlating algorithm in a female psychology to determine the men she finds attractive or would consider having sex with, and the men she doesn't. Now that is going to be more complicated because for women there are so many more things. What we talk about in statistics, negative kurtosis. There are so many more things that women are attracted to about men. The book Why Women Have Sex by David Buss and Sidney Messon lists 237 reasons why women choose to have sex, whereas for men it's like 4. So because of that algorithm, that complicated evolutionary algorithm, is hypergamy. That's what I would consider it. It is the way by which women sift which guy I like from which guy I don't like. It must exist just like it exists in men. So that's the way I would pose it.
All right, would it be fair to say it's sifting up though, right?
Yes,
it's
of
not
course.
sifting, it's sifting up.
Because her evolutionary imperative is to find the strongest son that she can. So that strongest son is going to deal with some competency or some physicality that man has that she's choosing him for.
All right. Is that fair for you guys?
I accept the
For
definition,
hypergamy?
yeah.
You accept that definition? All right.
I agree.
So a quick little recap. So we went over defining the terms. We went over high value men. We say about $100,000 when it comes to cost of living of a certain way, respected by your peers, having a skill set network of successful individuals around you, competence, and it is amoral. So even someone like Jeff Epstein, even though he's a terrible person, he would be considered a high value man on paper, just so that we have.
Can you say Epstein?
Epstein, whatever. Epstein, doesn't matter. He's one of them boys anyway.
Them boys.
He's one of them boys. Who cares?
Listen, he faked his own death. He's
Yeah,
fine. Whatever.
And
He's
then
We don't know about
and
that.
then
I'm kidding.
hypergamy is the attempt,
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
to mate up or sifting up and having filters for men. And then alpha male will, I guess that's a bridge we'll cross when we get there. So I guess we'll open up the discussion here, guys, with obviously the infamous tweet. Let's pull it up real quick, Chris. We got 28K y'all watching. So
Like
go
the
ahead and
video, man. Sub to the
We'll
channel.
probably have to kill the Facebook and Twitter stream here very soon. But come on over to
You already said
YouTube,
cuck.
guys.
Doesn't that get you banned off of Twitter for cuck?
Yeah,
or Twitch for cuck.
Yeah, I think so.
We're
Twitch is
banned on
gone,
Twitch
though.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So this is Rollo's tweet. So I'm gonna read it real quick for y'all. The quickest path to becoming a high value man. Number 1, do not get married. Number 2, avoid family creation. Number 3, vasectomy in your 20s. Number 4, lift consistently.
Vasectomy.
Number 5, eliminate all sedations. Number 6, learn game and networking. Number 7, play to your strengths and build wealth. And then number 8, resist easing up on your focus. So I guess I'll turn it to Roll. Do you want to?
Sure.
Really?
Okay.
Elaborate
So
on any of that?
I think we have already established the fact that to be a high value man, we have a sort of a convention, at least somewhat of a conventional definition of that right now. Now, how long would it take the average guy to achieve what we would in some way say this is what makes you a high value guy? The it doesn't have to be the $120,000, but like the functional evaluated equivalent of that. I think it takes longer for men
Well, yeah, for sure.
to get to reach maturity and to reach a point of where they get their they can maximize their potential.
Well, let's stick to the
So-
science because that's what he wanted. Number one, we had Richard Reeves on, and he talked about boys being 1 or 2 years behind women as far as development is concerned, and also from the book Dataclysm, men reaching their peak, their sexual peak around, or attractiveness peak around the age of 38 to 43, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
So that's science behind what you're saying. It would take longer for men.
But my point being is that, and I'll reiterate this one more time. The reason why I put this out there is because I watched you guys with Derek Moneyberg, and I think it was Brandon Carter.
Brandon Carter.
Who was on here. And Brandon Carter, I'm really impressed with Brandon Carter. I think he's funny. He's a great guy. But his sort of outlook on life is to maximize his efficiency, his potential. So it's he doesn't go to the grocery store. He doesn't own a car. He doesn't, the things that would take him away from staying on his grind. I mean, to the extreme. And now this is an extreme that I would not do, clearly, because I have a wife of 27 years. I have a daughter of 25 years. I am who I am. I do what I do.
You have a
right?
car.
So I have a car. Yeah, actually, I got 2 cars. So, yeah, I do have a car. So clearly, this is not about me. This is the most over-the-top, absurd, extreme
You
example.
also have a kid. I think we all should point
Exactly.
So
So,
is Brandon Carter.
who's Brandon Carter?
The guy you're talking about.
that out. You don't know Brandon
You know
Carter.
Brandon Carter?
Really
You've
good.
been on the show with
No.
Brandon
He
Carter.
said he has a kid. He was just saying. This.
Oh, he
you're
also,
saying Brandon Carter.
Brandon
Who couldn't hear you,
also
sorry.
has a kid.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand.
Sorry.
But the idea is that the most over the top, like, what are you willing to sacrifice to get to the point so that you can get to that state of being a high value male, right? So, by the way, when I'm putting out the idea of vasectomy, okay, keep it coming because I love that one. But if there was a male birth control pill, I probably would have put that in there as well, because what that one section in there was meant to say is that beware of, like, when the sperm leaves your body, you lose all power over paternity and children and everything else. That's one of the things that really slows guys down. It's a hindrance
Right,
to becoming to getting up to becoming a high value guy. So family creation. I'm not saying you should do these things, but if you want to get to the quickest way to doing those things, because it takes longer for men to mature into their peak potential, then these are the sacrifices that you're going to have to make to get to it as fast as you possibly can.
I feel like Sneako's probably going to take off from this because when I came into these spaces, so this is kind of a question that I had, and I think I fought with Fresh and Fit, I think, a lot on our first couple episodes, trying to figure out, like, what are you guys advocating for? So when I would bring up, like, Andrew Tate tweets and Bugattis and all that shit, a lot of the times these two clowns would tell me, they'd say, oh, this stuff's just a proxy for success. You know, you don't actually need the Bugatti. You need the ability to buy the Bugatti. You don't need to travel the world. You need to have freedom, and all these things. So
He's lucky we're moderating.
Yeah,
man.
so it seems like, it feels like
Lamborghinis.
it feels like, the goal initially wasn't to, like, be the richest motherfucker in the world. The goal was to have the freedom to basically do what you want.
Right.
And then I think the confusing part is it feels like there's this kind of schism happening right now, or it's already started to happen in the Red Pill community, where you've got like the kind of trad people that are going in one direction, and then you've got like the grind set hustle culture that are going in the other direction. And it feels like the lightning point for this was your tweet, where it was like, okay, we're gonna make it clear where we stand.
Yeah.
Get a fucking vasectomy, fuck family, and do this shit. And I think that it feels like the ultimate red pillar to you guys is what this is a feeling I have. The ultimate red pillar is a guy that grinds his fucking life away, and then at 35, he's like got fucking 15 million in the bank. He's fucked 50 girls, and now he's looking for like the best mom that he can find, who's like 20, 21 years old. He's gonna get with that girl, 0-1 body count at the most, maybe 1, 0 at the best, right? Virgin girl gets with her, has a family, and then boom, that's like his life. Whereas it feels like on the kind of traditional side, it's like, well, what if you were like 24 and found a really good woman at 22, and then you had a family at 25, and you followed your career, she stayed at home, took care of the kids, and you followed that more traditional route. And your tweet, I think, really showed the division of people in terms of how they felt about which of the two lifestyles people were actually aiming for.
You got it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And Sneeko can...
Yeah, so what do you exactly do you believe in? Like, do you think that is the life that you should follow? Because when you go to the red pill spaces, that's pretty much the end route, is because you're high value, you got a bunch of Lamborghinis, you're extremely rich, and we talk about competence when it comes to a high value man. Like, I didn't have a rich dad growing up, and that didn't really hinder his competence. And in fact, in a lot of ways, being a father will help you become more competent because other people are dependent and you're responsible for them. So that will make you become a full, capable man, which is, I think, the most important part of life. It's the most important part of life is not having a bunch of hoes, not fucking 50 girls, or getting the most amount of money possible, just hustle, grinding forever. The reason that we are here is to have a family, is to create. And so you see the red pill, and it's a response to feminism. You see this doomer way, like all these girls are hoes, all these girls on Instagram, they're all thoughts, whatever, they all belong to the streets. And so the reaction to that is the red pill, which is basically feminism, just male feminism. It's the same response. We make fun of girls who say that they want to freeze their eggs and wait till they're 35, and then men are giving the same advice to each other, saying, and I know you're not saying that's advice, but pretty much, like, if you look at the definition of advice, that's what that tweet was.
Yeah, so I think there's two things here. We specifically don't run around calling girls 304s. And like I actually have a problem with it, because I hear you sometimes talk about the audience there. We have to separate the audience, almost like Christ, Christianity, and the church. We have to separate the audience, because I agree with you. There's some shit that I see that people write on your streams as well, where I'm like, what the fuck is this, man? This is crazy, and I don't want to be associated with it. Red pill is not, and again, I'm red pill adjacent. Red pill is not something I get a union card for that I pay dues for. It's an ethereal thing that just sort of exists. Like, he calls it a praxeology. So the idea that, like, one of the things that's happened is every time, because he calls himself the godfather of it, when somebody does some stupid shit in the arena, then it's his fault, and then now we're gonna punch his book, because now the thing is, this doesn't, it's just a cloud, but then there's a book. Okay, now we have a physical thing to attack, and now Rollo has a tweet. Now we have a physical thing to attack, and so that's part of the issue, is that, like, now he's being held accountable for every, and I agree with you. Some of the things you hear are fucking idiotic,
Over the top, yeah.
Right. Because here's an example. When we go over the psychological studies that show that men don't have the same, they don't necessarily cheat more because they have more higher body count, but women do. They tend to be unhappy in a relationship. There's the Institute for Family Studies study that we refer to all the time. That's not a validation for cheating. We're not suggesting men cheat. You said that in the response thing, that I definitely do not think men should cheat, because in that whole situation, you're still lying. That is a lack of integrity, regardless. But do men have the ability to have more sexual partners early on in life? I was 20 years old. I'm 45 now. I was 20 years old at once, and there was a point in my life where I was going to UT Austin, and I wanted to have sex with attractive women, and I didn't think about anything else except doing that. That's how my brain worked. And later on, did it affect me negatively? I don't think it did. I just don't think it had the same thing. So I don't think it's a rationale for that belief. But the thing is, what happens is, anytime something bad happens or somebody says something stupid, it just comes back. It's like, now all red pillars are saying this all the time, and I just don't agree with that.
I understand what you're saying here. So first, let me clarify one thing. So I understand.
Should we define the red pill?
I don't think that's going to take a lot.
Next week.
So I think the issue with Rollo's tweet, because for a lot of people it looks like advice, and for Rollo, he feels like it wasn't advice. I think the reality was, the disconnect is that that tweet was advice, but it was for advice to become a certain type of high value man that Rollo isn't saying everybody needs to become.
It said the quickest.
So, the quickest way to get to this part, it was the advice to do that, but he wasn't necessarily advising you to do that, right? It would be like him tweeting out, like, if you want to become the flattest person possible, jump off a cliff. And they say, well, is that advice to jump off a cliff? Well, if you want to be the flattest person possible, but you don't have to do this thing because you don't have to be the flattest person.
Statement.
Yeah, exactly, sure.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, there's a few people who got it almost immediately. immediately.
Sure.
Hotep Jesus got it immediately. He did.
Sure.
He did stream it. Jedediah Bila, while you were on with Jedediah, she got it immediately. She's like, I know Rollo. I know he's not like this. I know this is a troll. This is the she
No, I mean,
understood
that
it
could be
immediately.
true, but then I also saw
But
you.
she's familiar with my background.
I also saw you tweet the next day, like you were kind of making fun of the TradCon way of life, saying that you want to be at your funeral bed with a bunch of kids around.
I was
saying that you would rather be listening to metal in your car.
I was
That's how you want to go.
I was mocking the idea of this sort of pastoral kind of Norman Rockwell fantasy of dying on your bed with, like, as an old man, with surrounded by grandchildren and whatever, and like as if that's like my funeral's going to beat your funeral,
Right.
As if it's like
Heavy metal in a car.
It's I put it this way: would you rather go out in a blaze of glory? Would you rather, was it better to burn out than fade away? What would you
Yeah,
rather?
I don't
what would
see
you
heavy
rather do?
metal in your car as a blaze of glory. That seems.
Okay,
Right, but it's subjective, isn't it?
Here's the thing: is it's over the top because I'm drawing attention to this fantasy of staying in your bed in an assisted living facility when 90% of people are never going to experience that. But it's a fantasy that we sell people so that we can sell them other ideologies.
I want to consider one other thing. You remember what he said earlier? He's like, one of the things you said was avoid family creation. Had I written that same tweet, what I would have said instead was, be the one who chooses when and where you have kids, and don't let
Control the birth.
Control the birth.
Wow, imagine that.
Well, I understand. Yeah, so
but
I
the
understand.
extreme example of that is a vasectomy. I
Sure.
would not have said vasectomy, but guess what?
Mhm.
My tweet would not have gone viral. I wish I could say vasectomy on Twitter all day and go fucking viral. It's
That's the only
incredible.
thing they focused
So
on.
I understand what you're saying. That so I would argue that you do pay dues to some extent to certain groups that you're a part of.
Mhm.
So this is something that I noticed being relatively outside of groups myself. I kind of watch how people move through groups, and it seems like there very much is a kind of there are a lot of groups that exist in these internet communities, and you get benefits for being part of the
raging,
group because you
more
kind of
romantic.
inherit audiences and cross pollination with other people. And then there are sometimes shitty parts of being in the group. So for instance, if somebody says or does something crazy, well, now you're kind of on the hook for it because this motherfucker in your union just said some wild shit, and now you're kind of have to go to bat for him.
CJ Hill.
I think that something that I wholeheartedly disagree
Sneako's
with
actually
is
coming
this
around to
idea
becoming
that you
not
can
so
say like,
brainwashed
well,
by
you know,
the red
everybody in my
pill
comment section
idiots.
might say
It's
this,
good to
but I
see
didn't say
it.
that,
It's good to see
or
the growth
I'm
of
just
the
making
change.
descriptions.
I see it.
Humans
I see it.
never just make descriptions.
agree.
We never just observe things. The process of choosing to observe something already requires a decision to be made, right? When you go into a laboratory to study medicine, we're not just plugging random chemicals and random elements into a formula and see what happens. We're doing something to try to figure out like, well, what is going to help make humans healthier? What's going to be a good medication for treating a disease or whatever? That's typically what we do. So when we're analyzing like the red pill, it's not just a praxeology, I think you called it, because even I think in your first book you say like the goal is to make it so that your wife is not fucking the alpha, right? The reason why we observe things is so that we can take something useful from it and then go and do something with it. If I had an audience and I was making certain observations, and this has happened a lot, where I fight with a lot of black people, I notice my audience is getting a little bit racist. I fight with a lot of white people, I notice my audience is also getting a little racist. I fight with a bunch of women, they're starting, hey women, right? I notice that like if I do certain things, my audience definitely responds in certain ways, and your guys as well.
But you're not racist.
But
You're
it doesn't.
not- are
But
you
it
saying
doesn't
racist?
matter. At the
Okay.
end of the day, I think what matters is the impact you have on other people around you.
Should
Like if
you
I
be-
go every day and I see my wife and I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" and it's not at the end of like 6 months, she's like, "You haven't told me that you think I'm pretty like a single time."
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, "Okay, well, obviously I think you're pretty. You're my fucking wife." So
It
well,
was
I need
on
to hear
auto,
it.
guys.
I
I
can't just
got
say,
it.
like, well, listen here, you stupid bitch. Obviously, I think you're pretty. I
My
don't have
bad.
to say shit to you, motherfucker. Right? I was like, okay, I have to understand how you feel. I got to tell you that I think you're beautiful. Blah blah blah. I have to do that every day because that's part of like what really matters at the end of the day is the impact you have on another person.
Should
right?
you be held accountable for the racist comments in your from your streamers?
Like directly, like
Yeah.
you said them, no. But if you're fostering a certain type of audience, I think as leaders, which whether or not we want to believe it, to some extent we
I agree,
are, that's how
totally,
we're
yeah.
treated, right? We're paid. When somebody gives you, like, we'll say on one end, well, I don't influence my audience, and then in the next breath, somebody will be like, I'll give you X $1,000 to promote a product. Why are you promoting a product? Because if I tell you to buy it, I know you will.
Yeah.
Right? So obviously we have influence over our audience, and if our audience is all heading in a certain direction, I think it's important to be like, hold on, guys, I see you guys are saying a lot of this shit. Maybe we need to pull it back.
Yeah.
So when you say things about like avoiding family creation, you know, you might say like, well, I don't actually mean to avoid it. I just mean to choose when you have children. That might be the case, but broadly in the red pill speaking, I've seen this huge push where it's like, never fucking have kids, never get married, women are trying to steal your shit, child support, alimony, women are coming after you. It's like, okay, well, combine that with the vasectomy advice or the, you know, control your birthing advice, and it makes the relationship seem very adversarial, like you are trying to avoid having kids at all costs. That's what it feels like, I guess, from the outset. And I think that's what a lot of the followers of Red Pill people and comment sections, I think that's the message they would carry forward.
I think the issue is then who's responsible, because one of the issues, one thing we tried, Rollo and I tried, is our show, we try to have girls on there who have master's degrees. We try to have girls on there who do all different kinds of jobs. And when we do, we get the exact same response. When we had Miss Nevada on there, Miss Nevada, and they were like, yeah, she's a ran through fucking hoe. And I was like, what the fuck can we do?
We have women on there with masters degrees.
What can we fucking do? And so the thing is, while I agree with you, no matter what we do, this audience still exists and they still talk about it.
Yeah, but why do they think that? Why do they think that?
11, 12 years old.
Because they want something to complain about. They want something to bitch and moan about.
Yeah, but they could complain about anything, right? They're choosing to complain about these particular subjects,
I also don't think commenters are the normal in the middle of the distribution. I think commenters are on the extreme ends of the distribution, which is why I personally don't feel super responsible for some of the idiotic things that they say. So I do understand what you're saying. Are we fostering an echo chamber? We specifically aren't. Well, like our
people think we're soft on the girls because
constantly
we don't.
They think we are
because
so
we're not
soft
like
on the girls.
we're not like in their face too much, because they're looking for blood. They're looking for something that's exhilarating. They're looking for Jerry Springer. You know.
But how many people do you think saw that tweet, and whether or not you call it advice, saw that and are now going to apply it? Especially because we talk about how important it is as leaders. You call yourself the godfather of the Red Pill. Like you kind of own this ideology, and it's something you are the forefront of it. So, is tweeting that a good idea?
I think I put the first off,
I think Destiny is very intelligent. He has a really good way of expressing himself. I don't think that this is very important subject matter, what they're discussing. Everybody in here has something to offer. I think it's been interesting.
And we're still talking about it 2 weeks later. It was success. It was a
Can we add in what Twitter's used for, by the way? And you yourself said so as well. If you want to go viral, you got to say the most outlandish things. So Twitter,
I would say,
but if that was really the only reason that he did, then you wouldn't have gotten that debate and got so emotional about everything that happened. You would have started. You called us fucking idiots. You called us douche and also. If it was just in order to,
because you weren't getting it. That's why.
Well, then you would have been rubbing your hands and be like, okay, I got the reaction I wanted. Here they are talking about it. Ben Shapiro, all these people are talking about it.
It's not your fault, but to be fair, he did a reaction video where he said he was married for 50 years. I'm a cokehead, and Justin Waller pays for prostitutes.
Damn.
So that to be fair, there was a little ad hominem attack on us. You weren't part of it, but that's probably where some of this came from.
I would have taken that if I were you.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, because you would be here for it. You're fucking 2 hours late, Fresh. Shut the fuck up.
I've never.
Thanks, moderator.
So going back, because so Sneeko, you have some traditional conservative beliefs. So you disagree with the whole vasectomy part. What is the main, I guess, issue with it? Is it because of the lack of family creation? You think that's going to lead to degeneracy?
So I think the two branching paths that I set up, like, what are you guys advocating for? Like, do you think if a guy could do it, if a guy could be 25 at the head of his career, starting right there, about to go down his life, but also pair up with a really good woman who he could have kids with, and then by the time he's in his 30s, he's already got like 7, 8, 9-year-old, a couple children with a good wife. Is that something you guys would push for, or do you think that men should stay as far the fuck away from that as possible and wait till they hit those prime years of being like 35?
So the answer would be somewhere in the middle. I think it's how over time, because I think social media has ruined things so much. If you know the whole thing where we talk about 33% of men having zero sexual partners, that hockey stick starts at the advent of the Facebook app on the iPhone in 2008. You can see it just shoot right up to where it was 12% of men or 16% of men with zero sexual partners, and it got up to 33. So the thing is, what's happened now is, I would say it's statistically less viable, not unviable, but it's less viable for the 24-year-old to marry the 21-year-old and feel good about it, because by the time she's 31 and he's 30, she's 31 and he's 34, 35, the dynamics of his relationship are going to change. He's going to make more money. He's going to see the world differently. Now, I'm not advocating he leave his wife, but now those pressures existed where they didn't exist before 2008.
Sure. So so I would push back against this strongly. So here's something that I've noticed, okay? People ask me, so I talk to a lot of women, I do my thing or whatever. When people ask me, like, what do you think is the best advice for, like, learning game? Okay? Honest to God, the best advice is when you're, like, 12 to 18, having friends that are girls. Talking to women, not being nervous around them, dating in high school.
You're not going to get any argument from this guy.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if you believe that or not. But honestly, that's the best time to do it. The second best time is now, right? But if you're not starting early and you're 25 and you've never even been shot down by a girl before, that's literally the scary. You could get a guy to climb the Empire State Building before asking a girl out.
So immersion from women, being around women consistently.
Yeah, and those warm spaces where dating and everything is possible, right? But the issue is when we push on this grind set shit so hard, and now you're getting a guy that's like 32, and he goes out on a date with a girl, and he wants to talk about like white papers for crypto coins. How the fuck is this guy going to be in his spot in his life where he's ready to like find a woman, settle down with a family? Like, how does he turn that on instantly?
The grind set guy doesn't mean you don't talk to women ever. It just means you're not looking to get married.
Well, one of those pieces of advice like eliminate all sedations or whatever.
So what that means is like eliminate pornography, eliminate alcohol, eliminate prescription, opioids, whatever.
How do feminist women not fall under the category of sedations?
Feminist women.
Yeah, how do hoes, for example, if you're talking about porn as a sedation, drugs, and everything like that, can't you group hoes directly into the category of sedation?
You mean loose women or feminist women? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, because you're not looking for anything further than that. It's just a way to get some dopamine release and just have a little bit of fun. It's pretty much equivalent to playing a video game or watching porn. It's not anything, like maybe you learn a little bit about hoes, but you're not going to get anything out of it.
I would say the difference is that it is far more difficult for guys to use that as a sedation than it is to say play World of Warcraft all day long, or it's to go drinking.
I don't know, man. I push back on that too. I think we all know guys. I think we all know guys.
You're in the gamer set. I got it.
Well, no. I'm saying I think for the girl set, I think we all know guys that have thrown their life away doing dumb girl shit. Whether you end up knocking somebody up, whether you get a crazy
half the reason shows like this exist is because guys aren't fucking getting laid. That's why. So
yeah, but I think Sneeko brings up a really good point that when you say eliminate,
I think it's less of a I don't know, less significant than say some other forms of sedation. So when I'm talking about sedation in the tweet itself, people have I've said this a million times. Is like, if you want to actually get up and actually become something and be something better, this is like where I finally get into like something like a positivity hustle, right? It doesn't matter if you learn all this stuff, you read all my books, you do all this shit. None of it matters if you can't get your ass out of bed. If your shitty real life is worse than your online escape life, that's what I'm talking about. That's the sedation right there. So could it be that you're a sex addict? Yeah, it can, but I would say those guys are probably far less common than the guys who are smoking weed, prescription drugs, pornography,
I would argue
whatever
that it's actually a worse sedation just based on the fact that you're saying get a vasectomy, because the consequences are much worse than any of the other sedations.
You're talking about sleeping around with a lot of women.
I mean, the consequences are much worse, obviously, because you're advocating for getting a vasectomy, because you could have a kid with this girl, but it's way more expensive. It's a bigger time suck. You're going to be drinking. You're going to be in environments that aren't going to be uplifting you whatsoever. You're in clubs all the time. You're around women that you don't really like. You get angry because you have to deal with, like, Myron always jokes about how he's going bald doing the show all the time because these women will suck away your soul. And really, what's the outcome of it? A nut? Is that really, like, how many times did you go and fuck a girl and you're like, that was really worth the last 2 weeks of my time of texting back and forth, taking her out on dates, spending all this money, getting dressed, listening to her stupid conversation about astrology? Like, is that really something worth advocating for? How is that a better sedation than weed, than porn, than video games?
I'm the wrong person to ask. I love women. I love fucking hanging out with them. I don't have the same opinion or whatever.
I mean, I love alcohol, but I quit. Like, there's a lot of things.
I've never drank before. That's the other thing. I've never tried Coke, by the way. That's the other thing. So I'm with you.
You're missing out, okay?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, sedations are great. I've done all the sedations.
Yeah.
I used to watch porn.
But here's the thing. Some people could say the gym is a sedation. The thing is, if you were going to rank the sedations, I would rather say a guy going out there and getting himself in shape, learning how to dress, learning how to talk to women, putting some bass in his voice, and actually going out and socializing with other people, getting over his fear of approaching women is a healthier sedation to me than pornography. That's just if we're going to rank sedations.
Well, and then I was going to say, like, other people are more addicted to a certain sedation than others are. If that is significant in your life and you're like, hey, you know what, I'm a sex addict, all I'm doing is going out and picking up random hoes all the time, and I've finally got it down to a science, and it becomes a problem, and it's like affecting other aspects of your life, then yeah, I would say that's a sedation that you need to like find, because it's an escape. I think sedations tend to be escapisms, is what I'm saying.
I think the contradiction that Snake was pointing out is that, like, you're, by definition, you're removing from the table all the women you would want to court for marriage because you're avoiding family creation.
Nobody courts anymore.
Well, when I say court, I mean like you're dating to get like married, right? So you're removing all those girls. So the only ones left are the 304s, necessarily, if you're trying to focus on the grind set, but then also have fun with girls on the side. So then at that point, it seems like you're engaging in women the same way somebody would engage with like weed or whatever. You're not doing
it. You can date a woman you want to have kids with and not have kids with her.
He's talking to a bunch of meatheads, dude. He's like a voice of reason in this.
And also, I would depend on the case too, because if you're like, I think if like you're both in your early 20s and you're like, I don't think I want to have kids till I'm 35.
Freaking great.
That's a tough sell for a lot of women.
Unless you date someone who's younger.
Sneeko, if there was a male form of birth control like Vasogel or something like that, and instead of saying vasectomy, and I said do this and take this, and it's not a permanent thing, you can always go back off of it.
No, because I think that's what we should be fighting when it comes to red pill and TradCon. It's like it's a similar common enemy that's trying to sedate us in a way. birth control for women, it messes up their hormones, it makes them extremely argumentative, they get weird, they get on different cycles. I don't advocate you to take these pills. I tell people all the time not to get the injection. Like, why would you go and listen to these pharmaceutical companies? Why would you let them win and go play into these games and pretty much just chase dopamine? Then you're becoming a rat for these big companies, for big pharma, when you could just like actually have, like, that's the point. That's the reason that sex exists, is to have children. Then you're completely removing the purpose of it, and then you're just chasing dopamine.
Can I chime in and just ask something here real quick?
Yes, moderator.
Plan B?
What's up, moderator?
Just 2 words, Plan B.
You know, here's the thing. While I agree with you now today at 45, I will tell you, like, I wasn't a whore because nobody would fucking like me. But at 25, I wanted to have sex with pretty girls. That's what I did, and I don't feel like it ruined me. That's the only thing.
Well, so do I.
Yeah.
Like, every day, but there's better things to do with your time and with that sexual energy.
Let me
If you
ask you
can focus that into becoming better. Into
Do you not think at all, though, that period of time helped you understand women better?
I'm 24. I'm still
Learning
now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will tell you at 45, and I used to work in nightlife, and I used to, be a military officer, a bunch of different jobs. And I will tell you that, like, the value that I gained from having so many women in my life, not necessarily just for sex, but my ability to communicate with them now is 100. Like, I do the red carpets for all these different parties, and I bring 100 girls to Bulgarian's house. Like, that's what I do now because I'm good at doing that now. I look back at that and I say that was a good experience for me. Didn't necessarily have to have sex with all of them, but I do understand what you're saying. The problem is, where I differ from you and maybe from Myron is, like, I don't hate being around them. I actually fucking really like being around some of them. They're fun, they're crazy, and they're just fun to be around. I just don't want to marry them. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's the difference for me. It's like Juicy J says, I still love these hoes. They're for everybody, but I love them anyway. That's the way I look at it. I mean, maybe it's just a little different.
You see them purely as entertainment, but I think it's better to see.
But I don't hate them either. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay, but you're not really. It's better to see them as people.
That's how I see them, exactly.
You're seeing them as entertainment.
Well, no, I think the difference he's trying to point out is that you made it sound like because you said like 2 weeks of texting this bitch to get to the payoff of sex. He sounds like he enjoys the texting.
I fucking loved all of it.
Yeah, which I do too, right? It's fun to like
I was in a stage of abundance, and also my lifestyle is a little different. It's big parties that we go to, huge events.
Which is just a bigger, grander sedation. That's no different than really watching porn.
Networking, though. Like, I've met some incredible. I wouldn't be sitting here right now had I not done that. It was Andrew Tate who reached out to me, introduced me to Justin Waller, who introduced me to him, and that's how I introduced Myron. So I don't see it that way. I see it as a goal. It ends to a means, and also the other thing is, and dude, Walt will tell you this too. Having beautiful women around you is one of the most incredible networking techniques that exists.
That's true.
There's an incredible book by Professor Ashley Mears at Boston University, where she talks about the guys who go to the Hamptons, and the ticket to get into every party at every Hamptons house with all the billionaires was to have girls. Right. So that's why
that's gonna lead you to a fun life.
Yeah.
But I was talking to Adam 22 recently, and he has his own porn thing too. I don't know if he was allowed to
plug talk.
Yeah, he has plug talk and everything like that. I was recently talking to him because he's been posting a lot of pictures of his daughter and stuff like that, and I always like react to it. I'm like, that's dope. Like he clearly cares about being a good father. And I had this conversation with him, and he said that after being with 400 women, doing all the show, like I asked him, like, was it really worth it all? But he's like, there's nothing better than having kids. Yeah. And even that's coming from a guy who's clearly been a sex addict, who did all this stuff. He went on my stream and he was talking about all these crazy threesomes, and he's like very public about all this stuff. And he's saying there's nothing better than having a family and having a kid. Even this guy that's like stuck with all the girls, like everybody in the chat, you watch like the top porn stars, he's been with them. And that does not compare to having a family. So yes, okay,
does he regret it? Does he regret it?
Yeah, because one thing could be better than something else.
But it's not about it's about advocating what's best for the young male audience and for the future generation. So is it better to advocate towards vasectomy so you can go to Dan Bilzerian parties, or better to advocate like become competent men, raise a good family, have strong children, and then your life is going to be that's the best life?
I think it's a great life. I don't know if it's the only good life. I think there's a lot of people who just don't want to have children. I think we've seen it all the time, and they're happy. The thing is, if I were to look at it from the book of Leviticus or the book of Genesis, or if I were to look at it from the Quran, you're right. That's not a great life. But I think for other people, they can enjoy life without.
The only people that don't want to have kids have been psyoped by the bigger agenda to believe that climate change and all these other external factors, that's the reason they don't want to have kids. It's all a lie. That's the reason we're here, is to procreate. That's all animals. You're like an evolutionary.
Let me ask you this. Let's take it to the next. Let's take it to the next level. Let's say you're married. Okay, you found the one. You're with your girl, right?
There's a reason.
Is having sex with her without procreation, is that also an escape? Is that now a sedation? If you're not doing it to specifically have children, is it then a drug addiction?
Right, but then it becomes a unity between a mother and a father.
So how is that not an escape?
Because it's still always
enjoying it though, and it's not procreation.
Right, but there's always the risk of procreation. Like that's the point that you do it. There's always the possibility that
Would
this
you
happens.
use birth control with your wife if you didn't want to have kids?
No, I would never get my wife on birth control. Absolutely not.
No,
I think-
condom. He's including condoms.
Yourself.
Any kind of birth
Any
control.
kind,
Any contraceptive.
Vasogel, condom, whatever, any kind of
Sure, it is a form of escapism to some extent, but it's better than spending your time with a bunch of women that you don't respect or like or even consider as really people.
Okay,
just
so,
as like entertainment
I'm
tools.
not trying to put you on the spot because I hear this quite a bit these days. Is like the most extreme end? I'm not saying like Islam, but like a lot of these really super orthodox Christian guys will say that any sex that is not for procreation is
A sin.
a drug addict.
Yeah.
It's drug addiction, or it's haram. Right? Anytime you're doing something to feel good, it's a dopamine release. Any kind of is any dopamine good?
I think between a husband and wife, then it's not just dopamine. It's something that you're connecting and you're establishing a relationship that's bigger. If you just do it with these hoes, like you know that it's a one-time thing, you're thinking this dumb hoe, and then you're just gonna kick her out. You're already thinking
I
about
got it,
the
but
fact.
we're talking about sedation at this point. So
Yeah, but that's a sedation. That's a different level. Like that's not a waste of time sedation. You're bonding with the partner. There's something that you're gonna create a future with this person. You're gonna see her the next day.
Maybe another way to say it is you're of one flesh now, like what it says in the Bible.
Oh, I
so
think
because-
to steal Sneako's point here, and I understand what he's saying. I think one of the problems
Right
that
on,
we've run into
Daryl.
in society, and I think
Take
even
care,
Red
brother.
Brothers on this a
Thank
little
you.
bit, is
Make sure
we've
you
become a
subscribe to
society
my
that
channel,
has
bro.
like taken every pleasure and reduced it down to its instantaneous like click button to get it,
Yeah.
basically, right? So instead of reading a book, we browse
Turn on
TikTok.
your
Instead of
notifications.
going to the theater and actually watching a movie,
Lico.
we're at home with a movie playing, Subway servers in the background, and like a game going at the same time, right? We have no ability to have attention or focus on anything. We've taken all of our pleasure centers and we've short-circuited them into the most immediate gratifying way possible. Now, that doesn't mean that all of those pleasure centers are necessarily bad. And I think from a religious perspective, when you look at how society is structured, ultimately society is kind of stemming from the structure of mother, father, children. And anything that's done in service of the maintenance of that structure is necessarily a good thing. So when you like ask Sneeko, like, well, is it sedation to fuck your wife? Well, no, because sex there, even though that's the same kind of, it's the same act as having sex with a stranger, that's being done in service of unifying and strengthening the bond between father and mother that's ultimately serving as the foundation for all of society. Much the same way that nobody's going to give me props if I go to the park and play with random kids, but if I go to the park and I play with my son, people are like, oh, well, that's a really good
You
thing
play
to
with
do.
random kids, you might go to jail.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, but you're still like, you're either playing with kids or you're playing with your son, right? But it's important to do it with your family because you're doing it in service of that bond of like father-son and building the family. Same thing with sex between a mother and father. Sex between a mother and father is not the same thing as random sex because that's being done in service of fortifying this institution that ultimately all of society is built
He
upon.
says from a
And
religious
the Red Pill
standpoint.
advice is 50 women. So the whole purpose is just
Well,
to
I
get
think
this.
that's Myron's specific advice. But
Okay,
yeah.
but like one of the forefronts of the Red Pill, just get this done. It's like getting a notch it on your belt. You're going through the motion specifically. It's like doing reps, and you're treating a person like you're just getting reps done.
Yeah.
That's not that is dopamine release in its purest form. You're not trying to establish anything. The whole point is to never see her.
Myron, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think Myron's not saying that for dopamine release. He's saying that for experience, so that you don't get used by women. I think one of the whole point
Well,
of
that's
this.
why I'm equating that sex to being a waste of time.
I think if you gain some experience, and you had made the point before, is like, oh, is this gonna you're gonna fuck this girl and be able to tell if she's a good mom? No, but what you're going to be able to do is see the red flags before they come. You go on a date with a girl you find really attractive, and she will not shut up about her ex. That's probably a good red flag. But after you've done this a few times, doesn't have to be 50 times, but after you've done this a few times, you start to see these red flags before they occur, and you're smarter, and you can help your friends out with those things. That's the only reason why I would say that.
A little bit, although I would fight on some of that advice because, like, you can, and like you said something earlier about how the casual dating and shit that you did in your early years probably helped you with dating later on.
Yeah.
It sounds like, based on what I hear you say, that's probably true for you. But I think we could both agree there are ways that you can do it that wouldn't help you at all, right? If you go onto Tinder, you find a girl, you dinner, fuck her, never talk to her again. You could do that 50 times and arguably have less experience than a guy that's dated one woman for 7 years.
Yeah.
Right? Just because you've never
Different
even
type of
learned.
experience.
Yeah,
Different type of
exactly. Yeah.
experience, yeah.
So like fucking 50 women could give you a lot of insight potentially into the female psyche, I guess, if you actually spend any time with them and date them. But if it's literally just one night stand, like, I don't know if you really learned anything, right?
Well, see, here's the thing, though. The average North American male has had, is it seven sexual partners, six sexual
7 to
partners?
9, yeah.
So for him to say 50, I think that sort of is going to include that necessary experience, right? And we can debate on how worthy that experience is. I will tell you at 45, I've learned a lot about women from being around women. Not
Yeah,
necessarily
I agree.
just having sex with them.
I want to address like your point as well, because I hear what you're saying, because a lot of people will take the quote unquote red pill to its most logical extreme, right? So just fuck a bunch of girls. That's all it's about, right? When my very first book, there's 6 chapters in there. It's called Plate Theory. Okay, each one of those, like when we're spinning plates, it's like you're dating non-exclusively. And if you read those rather than just listen to what's going on online, you'll notice that the last chapter in there is transitioning out of the plate spinning, the dating non-exclusively, into something that is more monogamous at that point. But that gets thrown to the wayside because nobody reads anymore, obviously. But the fact of the matter is I think that with this, another thing that comes back on me is people say, well, Rollo just says fuck anything on 2 legs. That's not what I'm saying at all. In fact, in the book itself, I say, you know what? Just because you're spinning plates doesn't mean you're fucking every single one of those plates. There are possibilities. For some of them, maybe you are. For some of them, maybe you're not. But you're dating non-exclusively. And so the idea behind that is not to get your notch count up or not to validate your ego for whatever reason. It's so that you understand so you know what you want in a woman, and so you know what you don't want in a woman. Whether you fuck that woman in the first place is irrelevant. Some guys are going to do that, obviously. But I think the idea, and I've been struggling with this since the very early days when I was a moderator on the social boards, is that I think a lot of people think that it's conditioning guys or it's teaching guys to be like jerks, to be like womanizing sons of bitches. And I would say that most guys who come into the red pill are not looking to be like players. They're not looking to be guys who want to go and just like bang as many women
just
as
the
they
majority of the
possibly can.
commenters.
Maybe that's true. But the fact is that most of the guys, at least in my experience from working with these guys in the last 20 years, they want one chick. They want to actually kiss a girl. They're like 24, 25, in some cases 30 years old, and they've never gotten anywhere. They've never had any intimacy, never had any kind of affection. And I'm not like, sex is even out of the question. Just to have a girlfriend is why they're like, what they have been doing up to this point hasn't been working for them. So that's why they come in and they find this. Are there guys who can use the red pill so that they can go and spin plates and they can get a rotation? Absolutely. Are there guys who can use the red pill to find a wife? Absolutely. That's the beauty of the red pill. It's like I said before, it's like fire. You can use it to cook your food, and you can use it to heat your home, or you can use it to set your house on fire and set your neighbor's house on fire. It just depends on the application.
But you're acting like it's this really deep philosophy or praxia. Like, is it really that complicated? Like, what if you could just describe it?
Yes,
It's really
absolutely it is that complicated.
How is it that complicated?
Or actually, or even
with
on the
a
back of that,
Korean.
how does it work then that you guys, I'm grouping all of you together. Maybe it's just Myron.
Moderating.
Yeah. Because it seems like then, because I feel like I would consider the ultimate success red pill story then would be somebody like Ben Shapiro. But it feels like you guys really disagree. So how do you reconcile those two things? Because he's somebody who found a wife early on, got married, has a business, has a family, seems like he's doing everything right, unless we really are saying, but he didn't fuck enough women. So how do you reconcile
No.
that?
So if it works out for him, so it's like this. What was it? Rich Cooper, who says, "Hey, don't ever date a single mother." Right? If someone comes up to Rich Cooper and is like, "Hey, listen, I know what your advice was, but I just want to let you know I'm dating a single mom, and it's worked out for me. We've been together for 10 years." Rich Cooper's not going to go, "Fuck you, stupid motherfucker. Why didn't you listen to me?" He's going to go, "Hey, congrats, man. It worked out for you." That's how I would look at Ben Shapiro. Marrying the first woman you had sex with is not unviable, but it's out there 2 standard deviations away from the norm today. Not in 1850, that was the norm. Today, I think it's difficult. Now, here's the thing. If we look at Steven Crowder's situation, what I'll say about this, I think Steven Crowder I disagree with him. I think he is a high-status man. The difference, the difference with Steven Crowder is, I would say that most of us in here and most of this audience, realizing you got married in the state of Texas, made that much money, and didn't sign a prenup, that was not a smart move on his part. In fact, I would even go so far, and you might disagree with me on this, if he had signed a prenup, she wouldn't be filing for divorce.
That would have been occurred to them, though, because they're both like from evangelical cultures, and they're both like virgins, and they were like in their early
Sure,
mid-20s.
but then again, look at the divergence here from the traditional versus the red pill, right? Where the red pill is like, you need to be going into this marriage waiting for it to fail, get that prenup, do all this like
protecting yourself.
Sure, but I mean, like I would argue, Sneeko is our Muslim expert. I won't touch your book, sorry. But like, wouldn't you argue that going into marriage is literally again like the union of flesh, till death do us part, etc. That if you're going in with the prenup, you're basically like doing with your fingers crossed behind your back.
So you wouldn't go in with a prenup?
Well, I personally wouldn't. I don't know if I would suggest that for other people, but I'm pointing out the difference between like the trad versus the red pill, where there's this huge schism right now in terms of advice.
So do you remember the science thing? So if 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women, then it would de-incentivize women to get a divorce if there was a prenup. That's just scientifically the way I'm looking at it. Nobody gets into, again, 38% of businesses stay in business after 5 years, something like that. Nobody starts a business but, hey man, 38% chance we're going to fucking make it. But if you get married, hey, you know what? There's a 53% chance that we're going to get divorced. Nobody says that. Everyone has. So, but why not protect ourselves? I have home insurance, but I don't intend on burning down my house, and I have car insurance, but I don't intend on totaling my car. I just don't think. I think you can still be prepared. This is the military officer in me. All we do is practice emergency procedures, but we don't intend on crashing. And so that's why I would do that.
I mean, I agree with you insofar as business and insurance goes. It feels a little bit different. Feels a little bit different when you're talking about marriage, because it's not necessarily just a financial union. It is realistically part of it is a financial union.
That's the origin of marriage was a financial union.
Well. Probably, but it also had to do with like family creation, I think, too, right? Heavily played into it. Probably more important even than the financial union was the family creation part. It just, again, it feels like I'm feeling the rift between like date to find a wife to create a family versus date. There's 3 or 4 might divorce you, get a prenup, get ready to, she's 15 years younger than you. It seems like there's that big divergence of qualities around the marriage part. Like I'm curious for both of you, you guys can answer. Like Sneeko, what is like your ideal path in life? If you could be like striving towards an ideal, when does the man get married and have a family? And then you two, like when do you think a man should get married and have a family? Like in general, knowing that there's going to be exceptions, but in the Western world.
We can go to Sneeko first.
I would say late 20s to early 30s, and a part of the reason why I reverted to Islam is I see it as the only logical way to get around the boredom aspect that the Red Bull talks about, because men always get bored. Men always want variety, and there's an ethical way to do it. So if you have multiple wives, then you're not just spending time with these girls knowing that you're going to go never see them again and you're just using them for a body count. If you have multiple wives and you love them equally and you're providing for them and they're getting something out of it, and then you get past that variety problem that a lot of guys have, and you also the women are going to act more in your favor if they're in a sense competing with one another to make sure that they're providing for the husband.
How do you handle this legally? I mean, bigamy is
I would not get married legally. I don't recommend anybody in the West get married. I think we've seen it fail over and over again. I just don't think. But I would get
family
married.
creation without legal marriage.
But you can get married religiously. You can have the ceremony. I think a lot of girls would like to have the ceremony. They want to get the dress with the pictures in the ring, but they don't need to have the actual contract. And I think for a lot of guys, if they would just logically explain that to their woman, they would have to agree. Just look at all the failed marriages. You look at the divorce.
Do you guys agree with that? When guys should get married? To summarize,
I've already actually put that in my book. So actually,
is
it's
so
don't
funny.
consider monogamy until you're 30 years old.
You agree with that?
At least 30, man. Okay. I would say at least 30. Yeah.
So y'all are in agreement about when they should get married. I guess they might say spend some place in the process. So you're saying minimize that.
I mean, I would argue from a trad spot. I think you would argue for earlier than 30, right? Because you want to have children to have fun with when you're in your vibrant stages in life. Like having a teenager.
We're pretty violent.
Mid to late 20s, early 30s. It depends for a lot of people.
Sure. But we say 30s, like if you have a kid when you're like.
We're pretty vibrant.
No, I understand. But like when you have a kid when you're like 35, 36, and now they're in their teenagers years, and you're like in your 50s, right? It's not necessarily the same type of vibe as you have a kid.
So Sneeko, you're against guys spinning plates and/or having premarital sex with girls prior to obviously the relationship.
I just see it as a waste of time to just be spending your time with hoes and saying that that's not a sedation. Like that's the one component that the Red Pill's missing, is that they see it as experiences. You're getting better. It's part of being a high value man is having a huge body count. I see that as actually a worse sedation than porn, than video games, than all this other thing, because not only is it just going to waste your time, but the risk factor is extremely high, and the solution that is offered to become this high value man that the Red Pill talks about is getting a vasectomy, which is not even the quickest solution, because
again, hyperbole, but
yes, hyperbole. Right. He was so the thing is, you guys remember the story of the Buddha, right? He goes off and he's a prince. He's an Indian prince, and he's never seen a dead person. He's never seen a sick person. He goes out for the first time and he sees the sick, the poor, the dead. He comes back and he freaks out, and he finds enlightenment under the lotus tree, and he tells everyone to get rid of all of your personal possessions and all this kind of stuff. But it's really easy to say that when he had a fucking harem before he said it. When you interviewed Bilzerian, he's like, oh, having sex with all these girls isn't that big of a deal. It's really easy to say that after you had sex with all those girls. If we say this, Sneeko, to other dudes, they're going to sit there and listen to us and be like, hey, let me fuck these girls real quick first, and then let me learn this lesson on my own. That's the problem.
Yeah, men learn from experience.
For sure. I will tell you, you are 100% right. It was a sedation for me, and I fucking enjoyed it. I'll tell you that also. So that's the problem.
Having sex with all those women.
While we say that, and I agree with what you're saying, and I think you're setting a good example, the problem is men are still...
These guys are just getting off on bragging about their sexual conquests. It's all this is, guys.
37 cultures,
It's
men were
funny.
more interested in casual sex than women are.
That's true.
This
But
guy
then
just
the other
loves
thing
saying how many women he's had sex with, and I enjoyed it.
to the masses. Because if you're saying
For
just
me,
go,
statistics. For me, statistics is the best advice. The truth. The truth is the only thing that I care about. I don't amoral, like you said before, because the problem is that the Overton window consistently shifts to the left, and no matter how much I, as a Christian, want it to go back to the right, I know that unless, other than I can think of maybe Afghanistan recently in 1979 in Iran, I can't think of a single society that shifted back to the right in the last 50 years.
okay, but then you're creating a bunch of men that are victims of that system and that are just playing parts of this leftist system instead of trying to create
I
people
don't
that
think it's
can
leftist, but yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
I think you also have to be careful. Our advice can't be statistics because I feel like one of the things you argue against as red pillars is just being a statistic, right? Like you could argue if you're listening to your man should kill yourself because statistically speaking, men kill themselves more than women, but that's not a good argument, right? Like in some
Cheers.
senses,
With the prescription is what you're
yeah,
saying.
exactly. Like you don't want to just be a statistic, right?
Well,
Because statistically speaking, what percentage of marriages end in divorce? What percentage is women initiated? Right? You want to try to find a way to rise above, right?
I guess maybe a better way would be like, here's my prescription, but they come with the statistics, and this is the reason why. And none of them are based on my feelings; they're always going to be based on other statistics. So I would say, for instance, if I were to say 78% of divorces are initiated by women, that would be my prescription would then be to get a prenup. But it's based on that statistic.
Yeah, for sure. But it could also be like, well, here are the most common reasons for divorce. Try to remedy these before they become an issue.
That's another great statistic, though. You're
sure,
bringing
yeah,
a statistic for a prescription.
But the feeling is, what do we express at the end of the day, right? It's the difference between history and historiography, right? If we want to tell the story of World War II, we're not going to talk about every single soldier in the war. We're going to focus on, the leaders. We're going to focus on the big battles. Same thing with statistics, right? It's what is it? Statistics don't lie, but liars use statistics. You could arguably use statistics to tell almost any kind of story you want, depending on how you massage your numbers and depending on what side you present. But it's our choice to choose what we want to present to the people, which is what we tell them to do. Also, one thing I would say on the marriage stuff, because I hear this a lot. I don't know how many of you guys talk about this or get into this a lot. You have to be really careful with the live with a woman but never get married. One, because some states have something called common law marriage, which I hope most of you guys are familiar with, right?
Yeah,
so you might not
Nevada
think you're
and Texas,
married.
I don't believe has it, but yes.
Yeah. I think Texas.
No, Texas does. I'm sorry, Nevada doesn't have it.
Yeah.
You're right.
Be very careful with that because you might find you're getting a divorce notice from a woman you never agreed to marry. So, one, be careful with the common law thing, and then two, I do believe that one of the reasons, we don't have to get too deep into the divorce stuff because that might come later, but one of the reasons women probably want some sort of like formal contract is because, while there might be some love and children and all of that, there is also money and career being left on the table too, depending on the arrangement. If you're telling a woman like, hey, we're going to fuck, we're going to have kids, and I love you and I love that and I love our family, you're going to stay here and take care of the kids while I go and I continue my career. When we split, if we get divorced in 10 years, I didn't lose shit financially. Because my career has been fine. I've been working the entire time, and now you're stuck being a full-time caregiver. You might have given up your career to do it. So I think it's reasonable for the woman to say, much the same that a man might say, I want a prenup, just because we get divorced and you're taking half my shit. The woman could also be like, okay, I understand that, but if we end up getting divorced and I'm throwing away a decade of my life to take care of your fucking children, our children, I want some kind of financial assurance too. I think that's fair.
And you're aware that certain prenups are thrown out exactly for the reason you just said.
Depending on how egregious they are or the state of the people writing them or if both sides have representation, there's a lot of some prenups do get thrown out, but not all of them, right? Yeah.
Okay, real quick. This has been great. I'm going to read some of these chats real quick, and we're going to kill the Facebook and the Twitter stream. So, guys, come on over to YouTube right now. Like the video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and also all the guys' links are below. Follow Destiny on YouTube. Check out Sneeko on Rumble. Check out Mike Sartain and the Access Vegas podcast on his channel, as well as Rollo on the Rational Mail. I'm reading only $100 super chats and up, guys, so that I can make sure that we keep this thing nice and succinct. We got Platinum Elite going. The Red Pill has flaws.
So thanks, guys. I appreciate you.
Oh, you gotta go?
Oh, you gotta go?
Hey, come to Vegas.
He's
Come
going
to
right
Vegas.
before.
Yeah, seriously, come to Vegas.
Come to Vegas.
Don't worry, we
Rumble
won't
wants us to
take it.
go.
We won't take it in any clubs. I'll
Hey,
take you some
let me tell you something, there'll be some
I'm the married
distractions.
guy,
Do they have
remember?
any mosques in Las Vegas?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, man.
Let's go.
You're in. You're on.
This guy's Sneeko,
Okay,
man.
bro.
Have fun with your new friend, your closer friend.
El Sneeko.
You got some distractions.
No more plan Bs, bro.
Yeah. The Red Pill has flaws, but it is so much better than being a beta simp. Marriage is at an all-time low. You don't have to have money to get women, just confidence. Most men will never earn $120,000 a year. Just learn game. Okay. We got here Deal saying outstanding show, Myron and Fresh. Well done, brother. Salute to Destiny, Sneeko, Rollo, brother Myron, brother Michael. Why did you join the army? You would have made one hell of a paratrooper airborne. Keep bleeding from the front. I appreciate that.
Air Force. Sorry, it was even worse.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we got here question for Destiny. Do you consider yourself to be a high-value man based on the definition you all have agreed on? I would argue that you are not. But we told all men to make a living the way you do, society would fail within 24 hours.
Yeah, but they
Bullshit.
don't all have to make a
Yeah, that's the whole
we all
bullshit.
do it, and I would say yes.
If every
say
single
yes, too.
man was a plumber, society would fail. If every single man
Yeah.
was anything,
Agreed.
society would fail. Everybody at
This
this
guy just
table.
doesn't like you, bro.
No, yeah, I understand. But everybody at this table, whether we like each other or don't like each other, everybody at this table commands a lot of resources, right?
Yes.
That's just like a
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah.
And last one.
Okay. 33K watching and only 8K likes. Let's get 20K likes to support the panel.
So
Yeah, guys, do me a favor.
in the back,
God damn.
Like the video,
Producer.
like the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Okay, we're caught up. All right,
Yep.
cool.
Cool.
So we were talking about the topic of divorce. Go ahead.
Do you want to start with that?
No, I was.
As far as like not living with a woman, I think is the main contention.
Well, it's that's a Iron Rule Tomasi #4. You know, it's
you
like
say
it's
don't live
shacking
with a
up.
woman, and you disagree.
No, I'm
with
saying
that,
don't live with the woman unless you plan to marry her within the next 6 months. Because what happens, and the reason why that I put that in the book in the first place, is because there's a rash of guys who just get together and they want to live with their wives or their girlfriends, right? In that situation, they think, oh, it's great. You know, we'll get rent paid. And then I'll have sex with the utilities. You know, I'll have hot and cold running water, and I'll get laid when I want to. And what happens is these guys will go and put their name on a lease with that woman, and then things didn't work out for them. But the woman, her impression is, well, he wouldn't be signing this lease for a full year unless like he was really, really serious about me.
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially, you lose all leverage, you lose all the urgency, you lose the nature of the sex goes down, the frequency of sex goes down. That's actually why that's why I made that a rule.
Do you disagree with that? Living with a woman?
Yeah, completely. I don't know how much you want to go on this topic.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Please take it away.
Yeah,
I don't know how that relates to divorce though.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I feel like living, if for no other reason, I think living with somebody is nice because splitting bills is really nice. You brought up something interesting. I'm not familiar with this research directly, but I'm going to extrapolate this one I do know. You mentioned that around 2008, when apps and iPhones
Chris, can
and
you
all this
pull that
stuff.
up? It's really easy to find. It's the GSS survey. It's in the University of Chicago, I think. Did it? Do you remember who did that? The one that shows that 33% of men with zero sex.
Oh yeah, and then, by the
They
way, that's
muted
like we
Destiny?
keep, like using that over and over again. I see Adam Sosnick quote this all the time, but it's like there's so many other like data points in that survey.
This is
that's
something
like,
that I'm going to bring up because and you guys are all old enough to remember something else really big happened in 2007, 2008.
The subprime mortgage crisis.
Holy fuck. And one of the biggest indicators for men being able to get out and
weird.
get married and have sex and everything is having your own place.
Yeah.
And our ability to work, holy fuck. If you were working at the time, you saw benefits and pay get cut like none other. It was hard to find jobs. Housing became completely fucking unaffordable. In 2007, buying a house from that point on became very, very, very difficult for the next few years. So it wouldn't surprise me if virginity rates or not, it's not virginity actually, but not having a sexual partner rates probably grossly increased for that year because everybody was stuck at home.
So
it really hard to find.
while
Yeah.
I agree that may be a part in the beginning, if you look at the scale, it starts in 08 and it ends in 18.
Sure.
And 18, it gets up to almost 30%. So, or from 2015 to
doesn't
2018,
go up
I don't think
from
that has anything to do with the subprime mortgage crisis.
Mhm.
I think it has way more to do with the phone and specifically Dunbar's number. What's happened is these people now have unlimited options, whereas their brain was developed through evolution for 150 people. Now they have options to everyone and everything they can see. They message Drake. Drake messages them back. They fuck Drake, and now the girl thinks that Drake is the baseline for what she can date. And now the next guy who's alpha widowed after that has to deal with that. And I know it may seem like it's anecdotal. I just see this hundreds of times where girls will say, "Yeah, I was dating so-so and an NBA player," and you've probably seen this too. And you're like, "No, you fucked him once. You're not dating him. I know his wife. You got to fuck a couple of times."
Yeah.
And it skews the data set so much to where you have women and they come on these shows and they're like, "Hey, I'm a 10 and this is what I deserve." And you're like, "Wow, this is crazy. I get it that you fucked an NBA player, but like now you've confused yourself into thinking like this is what the world is going to be like for you." Social media led to that, and I think it's specifically Dunbar's.
Can I clear? Because I know where you're going to go with this. So before you get there, because I'm going to hit on you for 1 second here, because this was you.
Damn.
So
he's coming for the dude. My number.
That 30%. So because I want to clarify this because I think this will just save us some time here. So like you were on the show here and you guys were having this back and forth about like what's the percentage of college co-eds are getting flown out to yacht parties with Drake or NBA players and stuff like that. And you guys said 30%. And I'm like, oh god, no, it's not 30%. But it's not who's actually being flown out there. It's the perception that those girls saw that other bitch got flown out there, and so the possibility exists, at least in that woman's sort of hindbrain, that could happen to her, and so therefore the perception of it affects that local sexual marketplace, because if the girl thinks that that might happen, she's gonna like put off these other guys, like real guys, on the off chance that maybe somebody is going to fly her out somewhere else. So, and by the way, that's just one isolated incident. So when we're talking about perception online, like the one thing you want to talk about, like 2008 up to where we're at
Chris,
right
I
now,
just sent the chart to you.
it's the perception of opportunity. It's the perception of abundance. It's the perception of a overinflated sexual market value as a result of seeing all these women who like women think are comparable to them, and they're getting that treatment. So the possibility exists that they could get it too. Hopefully that shortens things.
Yeah,
a little
so
bit.
I understand this theory, but I disagree with it completely. But I don't know if we want to go, because I think we're going to get back into this later. Do we have a particular topic we want to talk about, or do you want to talk about dual mating purposes?
We can hit. Yeah,
I think it's a good segue.
I
Yeah,
think
because that's going to
that ends the vasectomy discussion right there. Going there. But okay, we could go into dual mating strategy, and in this case, it's going to be the classic alpha bucks, beta bucks, the dual mating strategy of women that basically, you know, they have sex or go into heat with that really tall, nice looking guy, right, the Chad, and then they go ahead and get with the other guy for his resources, the beta bucks.
Can I reset this from a scientific standpoint?
Yeah,
so
go ahead,
this is in The Evolution of a Desire by Dr. David Buss. And that original copy, it's called the Dual Mating Strategy. Later on, when he writes the book When Men Behave Badly, he changes his opinion to what's called a mate switching strategy. So, and the reason why he does that is because they do a survey and find out that 83% of women who cheat on their husbands fall in love with their affair partners. It is below 30% for men. So something that's statistically different would show that when women cheat, it is to find a new head coach. When men cheat, it's to rearrange the roster. So that's essentially what he's saying with that whole thing. Now, Rollo and I actually disagree on this a little bit. I believe more in the mate switching strategy. He has mentioned before about the dual mating strategy. The thing is, I don't think it's 100% one way or the other.
They can coexist.
There's too many women that I know that are absolutely have a sugar daddy while fucking Brock the bartender at the same time. And so, again, it's just anecdotal. It's not statistic. But I think both of them exist. Whether or not it's 85-15 or 50-50, I'm not really sure.
Okay, this is going to be a really important center point for this discussion, because in my opinion, almost all of Rollo's praxology is going to be built off of this alpha fucks, beta bucks idea. That a ton of stuff, hypergamy is built off of it, the way the relationships work are built off of it, you know, what men and women are after, the dual sexual strategy. So you guys are not in congruence with how you feel on that? You disagree?
The difference is, so we'll just say Alex the alpha and Bobby the beta. She's dating Bobby the beta. Now, the question is, in both strategies, she fucks Alex the alpha. But in one of them, she fucks him to leave because she's dissatisfied with Bobby the beta. And in the other one, she fucks Alex the alpha to get his genetics and stays with Bobby the beta.
Sure, so the underlying question then is, do you believe that women biologically are employing the dual sexual strategy?
Subconsciously, yes, because men do this. Again, the converse for men would be the 40-year-old guy, 50-year-old guy who goes through midlife crisis. I don't know if you've seen these studies. When women go through menopause, that's when men go buy the Ferrari. They've shown this, like men can actually sense when women go through menopause, and so that would be the same. That would be the equivalent for men. So yes, do I think women do it? I think they do it subconsciously, and I think it's strictly because of their evolution.
Okay.
And Michael?
Go ahead.
Oh, here's the
There it is.
stats.
Yeah, you see from 2008 to 2018, it shoots up to 28% of men. Chris Williamson had a comment before. He thought it was in the 40s now. He thinks that number has gotten up even higher. So that ended at 2018, but that's a pretty statistically viable number right there to go from 16% to 28% in the course of 20 years.
And I should also point out that that's one demographic cohort, the 18 to 30. If you go beyond that, it still tracks. It's just not as like significant.
Yeah, I'm curious how much that correlates to housing prices. Because I know that like housing has become like increasingly unaffordable, and a lot of the issues for people
not having a place helps you not get laid. 100%, yes.
And married, it's a very big success indicator for a successful marriage as well. So okay, into the dual mating hypothesis. So firstly, I want to ask, what is an alpha male to you guys?
Great. So would you admit, like when we talk about, and we're going to start from the taxonomy here: elephant, bull, seals, tigers, lions,
silverback
gorillas. In those cases, would you admit that there is an alpha male, at least in those in biology in those cases.
Yes.
Again, it's okay.
Mhm.
So at least we understand that there is something. So here's where the confusion comes. If I'm having my birthday party, I've noticed whenever I have my birthday party, I get more attention from my friends and from women in general because they see other women paying attention to me. In that moment, contextually, I am alpha. When we leave that and we go into a club to watch Calvin Harris, all the girls now stop paying attention to me. They see Calvin Harris go on stage. He is now contextually alpha. That's how I define alpha male. I don't know if you.
Wait, let me catch that. What was the definition there? Like, what is, and I'm not trying to get you on, like, what is give me 16 words. Like, in general, like, what is an alpha male? Actually, I'll give you my perspective.
Yeah,
this is what I'm confused on, and then you can talk around this, okay? My confusion is so earlier we agreed that I think high value men are people in general that can partition resources.
Yeah.
And in the broadest of senses, are people that can partition resources. But it feels like when you guys talk about alpha males, there's this weird kind of like double speak happening where alpha males are, Rollo mentions the pool boy a lot. And we look at the pool boy, so the woman wants to fuck the pool boy while she's dating the poor beta bucks guy. But I feel like the beta bucks guy, more often than not, fits the definition of like a high value man or an alpha male. He's somebody that usually commands a lot of resources, partitions them, is relatively successful, displays a level of competency. Whereas the pool boy would be the beta. He is a
He's poor.
yeah. I don't want to say a loser, but if he's like 18, he can be a pool boy. But if he's like a 35-year-old pool boy guy and he's got nothing else going on in life, he's like a loser. But somehow in that situation, it feels like we're calling him like the alpha fucker versus the beta bucker. Like, so what is the alpha?
Generally, because so the whole pool boy like scenario there, it's usually the rich husband who wife's at home just lounging around the pool and she's fucking the pool boy. Okay, I mean every porn movie starts that way, right? But it's primarily because the pool boy represents the peak as far as like alpha fucks is concerned, whereas the husband or the rich guy who has provisioning, protection, and parental investment, he represents long-term security to that woman, whereas for lack of a better word, the pool boy, right, the guy who's the hot guy that she is aroused by, she still wants to fuck that guy. Although we want to say that, well, the guy who's got all this money, we're going to say, well, relatively speaking, if that guy is rich and he can provide for long-term security, logically he would be the one to choose. But yet we still see her choosing the pool boy, right? So what happens is you've got alpha fucks and beta bucks, and so usually what happens is, like, would women love to have both of those together? Yes, of course they would. They would like to have the complete package. You'll hear women say that all the time, but this is just me spitballing here, but like right now, I think in particularly because women have entered into the workforce, because they have educations, because they have basically become the men that they wanted to marry, they don't need men anymore. They want men. Who do they want? They want Brock the bartender. They want the pool boy because he represents the hot, fun sex, the short-term, sexual genetic benefits guy. They don't need it because they can take care of that shit for themselves.
I guess what I'm not understanding, and this is what I don't know if there's a way to reconcile this, is it feels like...
Let me just define it really quickly, because everybody's going to like lose their shit on this. But like whenever we talk about like alpha, beta, whatever, and if we want to get into sociosexual hierarchies, you'd say delta, gamma, whatever. But I only ever use alpha and beta because it just distills these things down to placeholder terms.
Sure.
So I don't think that human males are like silverback gorillas, right? Or wolves on the Arctic tundra or something like that, okay?
Do you understand? The day she got married, the alpha was the guy she married. And
I understand what you're saying, but because you're making this appeal to evolutionary biology, but when we look at alphas in other species, those alphas are never, or very rarely, are they the way that we describe alphas in society.
That's what I'm saying.
Not like the silverback. There is no silverback gorilla who's the alpha who like runs into the forest, comes back, fucks a woman, and then leaves, right? These guys are very pro-social. They're leaders for primates, especially. Not just dominance, though. There's a lot of prestige as well. There's a lot of like mutual grooming that goes on with gorillas, right?
Primates, yes.
Primates, yes. So for instance, like being pro-social, grooming other primates are all very important. Because regardless of how strong or alpha you might think a chimpanzee is, 2 or 3 others are going to kill him if he's an asshole. Nobody's going to want to follow that guy. There is no such thing.
Because beta males form coalitions to take down.
So with the chimp, absolutely. With silverback, it's a little different. He's not as pro-social. He doesn't want any other males around at all. But yeah, I do understand what you're saying. I think the difference, like I said before, is we're just using it as a placeholder. Alpha just means more than beta. It doesn't mean anything else.
Okay, sure. And I can accept that, but I would fight you if I was in a fighting mood. That would be a lot different because we're very clearly drawing from the animal kingdom.
Yes.
So when we use those words,
because we're animals,
I understand, but the way that
frame of reference.
Yeah, I understand. But alpha male in the animal kingdom would be like the beta lawyer guy. That would be the alpha male. The guy that is just the pool boy would be the lowest of the low in the animal kingdom. He would probably be excised from the group, and he would just die.
In his law firm, he contextually is the alpha male. When the girls have girls' night and go to Thunder from Down Under, he's no longer the alpha male. Contextually, that's going to change.
That's fine, but that context you're talking about, that doesn't exist in the animal kingdom. The alpha is always the alpha.
Right,
He doesn't change to the alpha depending on the scenario.
Because
right?
the silverback gorilla is always the strongest male until he isn't. And that's the reason why it doesn't change. And there's so many other factors that go, and I agree with you, there's so many other factors that go, because Homo sapiens are so much more complicated than silverback gorillas. But the thing is, the only reason when we say alpha, it is a placeholder from this point now, and then it changes whenever. It's almost, holding alpha is like holding a puff of smoke in your hands. It's there for a few minutes, and then it goes away. And so it's almost like getting on a hot streak when you're playing basketball.
Destiny, I'm going to make a book suggestion for you real quick, because this is a lot. I think we're both drawing from the same place. There's a really great book. It's called Alpha God by Dr. Hector Garcia. I would highly suggest. You would really like that book.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, there might be. Okay. So then I just want to fixate then on this, that when we say alpha beta, when we're talking about like humans, it really has nothing to do with like alpha beta in terms of animal kingdom stuff.
Yeah, it has to do with more or less.
Sure. Okay. That's fine. So it's the same words, but no drawing, because like an alpha for humans, a lot of the times, for instance, we're focused on like dark triad or like antisocial personality traits, right? Like the alpha, like drug dealer.
Because that's the result in the end for coming back, but that's not always the case. The quarterback of the football team can.
Hey man, wouldn't the alpha male be the guy that's carrying the gun on him? I mean, if we're really just talking about what alpha males are in the wild, it's the one that can kill all the other ones, right? It's the one who survived every attack from all the other ones. So just some dude with a gun, right?
The dominant, like, fuck you, I'm gonna kill you.
Right. So he doesn't have to be dark triad, but he could, because if we're in a situation where we're all of a sudden fighting the zombies, we're gonna want the dark triad guy. He's going to be the one to be willing to do the most violence, to some extent.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think you're not gonna want the guy that's gonna feed random people to the zombies because he's bored. Didn't they do that in The Walking Dead, where the guy like beat people to death with the bat? I don't know if you want that guy as your fucking leader.
Right.
You know?
Maybe not Negan, but the other whatever they do with the pistol. I forgot what his name was. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. But you are going to want the guy who is going to be willing to do the most violence and feel the least guilt about it.
I try to like make comparisons here with like the alpha archetypes. So like if you look at like say Captain America, alpha. If you look at Iron Man, also alpha. But they're different kinds of alphas. If you got Superman, you've got Batman. Batman's the Dark Knight. He's the vigilante, and he's a dark. But then you've got the truth, justice, and the American way.
However, I will say all those guys that you described, I would agree because they partition resources. But the really confusing thing for me is when we talk about alpha fucks, beta bucks, where the alpha here is somebody that cannot partition resources, which doesn't make sense from
the pool boy. The pool boy.
Because the pool boy is not an alpha in literally any sense of the word.
He serves a different purpose than the other.
So his resources is different. It is his V-shaped torso and his height and his sexual appeal to her. It's just a different resource.
Yes.
Because when you think about it, there is no analog for money in the Pleistocene epic, right? Money, what we use today is just competency.
Pleistocene epic.
I can say
I know you always say that so fast.
Sorry. So the thing is, there's the analogy for competency today is money. That's why women are attracted to it. It doesn't make sense because money didn't exist during the Pleistocene epic. So why is it that women are attracted to money now? And the reason why is because it's an allegory for competency. So back then, the competency for somebody who grew up, let's go all the way back to the 13th century, Genghis Khan, the man with the broadest shoulders who could swing the sword the hardest, women are going to be more attracted to him. What is his resource? His resource is the ability to conduct violence on her behalf to protect her offspring. And so that's why when we see the pool boy, well, not we, but the wife sees the pool boy, she sees him as more of a physical protector subconsciously, not consciously.
I understand what you're saying. And it's a nice story, but I don't think it lines up at all. I don't think that because there's no genetic attractiveness to somebody that can't partition resources. Historically speaking, in terms of like, but that can only sometimes be a proxy for it, right?
A lot of women. Okay, so here's the reason why. Let's go back to the science. 20% of men on it's the top 10% of men on Tinder are getting 63% of the right swipes, and it's because of their physical attractiveness.
Yeah, but that's a super unique environment because that's like one man to every or one woman to every 5 men.
We're talking to millions and millions of people.
Yeah, but it's still the women there are going to be selective in ways that they never would be in normal society. When you're on a 5-to-1 discrepancy there.
If we were to look at Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge and the total usage compared to the population, it's a pretty significant number of women that are attracted to men just because of their physical attractiveness.
Absolutely not. And you know this if you've hung around women, because if you go into, for instance, if you go into any workplace, everybody's fucking. Always,
sure.
Right?
But like, not it's always,
not,
but yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. In the low-level place I work, McDonald's, restaurants.
Fresh.
This is a workplace.
Not in the 22nd era fueling.
No comment.
You can go into any workplace that's not fresh and fit, right? You go into like restaurants, you go into kind of like working class shit. Everybody's fucking. If you go into schools, a lot of
Yeah, but
classmates
the
are fucking,
hottest
right?
girl is generally going to go after the dude who has the highest status, the Denny's waitress who ends up with the Denny's manager, like that kind of situation.
Sure,
too.
but the waitress is also fucking like the coworkers too, and the coworker, like everybody's fucking.
Let me see if I can throw a monkey wrench in all of this. Okay.
Sure.
Which calendar sells the most? The Dad Bod calendar or the Thunder from Down Under Chippendales calendar
Like
to
the
women?
idea that
Which one sells
the
the
idea
most?
that Chris Hemsworth's physical appearance does not make him more attractive to women, obviously it does. The idea that Drake's physical appearance or whoever, their physical appearance for women, it's not everything. For as men, way more important for us.
I understand. Yeah, and I understand we have a desire to point to these surveys a lot where we look at like, okay, well, what do women find more attractive? And women definitely do find certain features more attractive. But I think the issue that we have is just because they find something more attractive doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go for that as a partner or even necessarily a sexual partner. So this is something I try to do.
Okay, so stop right there just real quick, because what you're doing is you're like pushing the two together. Okay, we're not talking about like the pool boy is not forming a relationship with a rich woman who's married to that guy.
Right.
She just wants to fuck him right then and there because they're separating the two between. We're not talking about like forming a relationship.
Sure, but even as like a
just be. I just want to. He was hot and he was a hot guy in the foam can party.
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying there, but so for the largest survey that I could find, so in 2015 in evolutionary psychology, Frederick and Jenkins did a survey of over 60,000 people. Over half of them were men, and it had to do with the average number of sexual partners between all the men. And because I'm curious, I'm trying to find like, well, are there certain guys that like fuck all the women? Like, who are the alphas or whatever? And two of the metrics that they tracked were height and BMI. So they had very short, average tall, very tall, and extremely tall guys. The biggest discrepancy, the extremely tall guys had 12.3 partners on average. And extremely tall was 6'5" and above. And the very short guys, 5'2" to 5'4", my short kings, their average partners was 9.4. That was the biggest discrepancy. At short, which is 5'5" to 5'7", you have 11 average partners. From 5'8" to 5'10", you've got 11.7. From 5'10" to 6'1", you've got 12, and then from 6'2" to 6'4", you've got 12.1. From 6'5" on, you've got 12.3. There's not like this huge discrepancy in terms of like who's getting all these parts. And same thing with BMI. For underweight people, it was 8.2 average. Normal weight, 10.9. Normal weight. Overweight was 12. Obese was 11.7, and then obese category 3 was 9.3.
I just don't know that necessarily describes Leonardo
Everybody's
DiCaprio.
banging.
Like there's
It's not, but I think there's a really good description for Leonardo DiCaprio. And this is what I kept trying to find. Who is getting all the women? And it's not a particular trait. It's not a particular thing. It's just guys that want to fuck a lot of women. Those are the guys that get a lot of women. It's not because they're necessarily tall or necessarily wealthy. And you guys must know somebody. I think we all probably know a guy who's a fucking bum who hits way above his pay grade because he's got a good smile. He's the pool boy, right?
Sure.
Arguably, he is the pool boy because what does the pool boy have?
What's the guy who's nailing Kim Kardashian now? Or
Pete Davidson?
Yeah, it's great, but that has to do with pre-selection. The thing is that you also know the guy who's like really tall and good looking who can't get his fucking life together but just keeps banging hot chicks after hot chicks. It just, the thing is, for women, there's so many different reasons why they're attracted to men, but for some women, one of those reasons is physical appearance, and for other women, it is just fucking money, and they all live here in South Beach. Like that's, you know what I'm saying?
That might be the case, but poor people have more partners on average. So it seems like I'm trying to find like we have these theories and these concepts,
That's
and I'm
because
trying to
there
like
are
drill
more
it
poor
down.
people than there are rich people. You look at the number.
But it's also because poor people just fuck more because they have nothing else to do, right? If you're a kid and you go to school and then you go home and mom's at home,
fuck more.
right? Yeah, well, no, it's because it's not because it's more, but it's because you have less shit to do when you're poor, right?
We're not in caves.
Well,
anymore.
I mean, depending on where you're born. No, but like wealthy people, right? You wake up at 6:30 a.m. to go to your high school pre-band practice, and then you're from school from 7 to 4, and then you've got football practice from 4 to 6, and then you go home to mom, who's a full-time mom at home, right? Your day is going to look a lot different than somebody that like goes to school at 8, leaves school at 2:30, and you've got nothing else to do for the rest of the day but fuck, right? And statistically speaking, poor people they've got more kids and they have more sex than wealthy people. Like, it doesn't seem like there's a discrepancy between tall and short people. I can't find a discrepancy between like fat and small people. So I feel like the guys that want to fuck aren't like evolutionarily the guys that just look at. It's guys that want to fuck, that go out looking for women to fuck and practice.
Like showing more
skill.
intent. So you're saying logistics might have a big part in it because they're putting themselves out there more?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm saying that even though we can survey women and we can say like, do you find this guy more attractive or this guy more attractive or this guy more attractive? Women will say, oh yeah, I find that more attractive. And we're very keen to say, like, well, look, they find that more attractive. These are the guys having all the sex. But that's not always true. It's just the guys that want to have all the sex, right? Like, Bill Gates could probably be fucking 100 women
so
a week if
maybe
he wanted to, but he's probably
maybe
not,
it's
right?
a confluence of the two things. It is the attractive man who also wants to fuck a lot, and then he's the one with, what was the survey we saw where the top 5% of men had 150 sexual partners or something like that?
Yeah, it's the hockey stick.
I think
That is true, and that number is true. However, that top 5% of men, it didn't necessarily correlate to a trait. It was the top 5% that wanted to fuck a lot of women. It wasn't just the tallest men that were the top 5. It wasn't just the wealthiest.
I just see so many guys who want to fuck a lot of women, and they're just bad with women.
Yeah,
I know, but I also
think
like.
there's just more of them.
I know,
now,
but
too.
I know a lot of guys. Fuck, my people on my stream will know this. There are a lot of guys that are. No offense to anybody that might know who we're talking about. There are people that are losers, and they do so well for themselves because they're funny, they're charming, they're witty. They get girls and make them laugh, and they fuck so many women. And these guys don't even have houses half the time.
So
right?
maybe what that is a corollary to the ability to align resources. Meaning, if I'm funny, then I can have higher social alignments. Remember when we defined what an alpha male was? Or I'm sorry, we defined what a high status male was. We said he had high status social alignments. Funny people have those things.
Yes.
And so maybe that's a corollary, and that's why women find them attractive. It could be several different reasons. I think what you're hung up on is specifically the pool boy having abs and being just physically attractive. There's also the bartender who listens to her when her husband doesn't. She still might fuck him too.
Or maybe he has dark triad traits, because dark triad traits end up being like guys who have dark triad traits end up having higher sexual partners.
They do, but it's because people with dark triad traits want to have more sex, right? That's the issue, is they tend to chase them. If you chase them more,
but that only works one way. So, like, why is it that women find dark triad traits attractive in the first place?
I don't think women generally find dark triad traits. Are you familiar with the study they did where they described like the tennis player and they ask women? There's a really famous one. They ask women if they find him more or less attractive, and basically, fuck, I should have brought this one with me. But basically, there's
I have one here, but go ahead.
Sure, there's a whole list of like they describe a tennis player, and then in one they list like very domineering, very dominant traits, and then in the other they don't. They list more kind of like submissive traits, and they ask the women who's more attractive, and all the women go towards the domineering one in the study generally.
Yeah.
But then when they rerun the study and they just list like the first 3 sentences and they don't have any of the dominant or submissive things, women just go with the first guy, which was interesting because they didn't even consider that.
This isn't the one I was looking at.
Wait, just so I understand this, so I can make sure was the tennis player famous or
No. It was just a hypothetical where they say, here is a guy who's 6'3", he's got a good serve, he's very good at tennis, and then they go on to describe him, and they ask who the woman would be more attractive based on the writings that they give.
Yeah, the traits.
Yeah,
dominant
and what
one versus submissive, and they picked dominant
initially, but then when they left no dominant or submissive, women picked like the baseline guy with less written about him. And as they continue to add and take away
was the baseline guy a tennis player too?
Yeah, it was the first 3 sentences without any added descriptors to him, basically.
By the way, they've done the same experiment with hiring practices, and they found the same thing. People would just pick the first person. I think
sure, potentially. Although they did in that study, they did a better job of shuffling around than just like the first person.
Yeah.
But what they found when they started to add and take away more is there's this concept, and it pairs really well with this concept earlier we talked about the alpha male, that women are drawn towards alpha guys that are violent and all this shit. And not really. They're drawn towards dominant men, but they're drawn towards dominant pro-social men. So not just a guy that can go out and fucking kill everybody, but a guy that can go out and get other people to come with him to go kill people. Not just a guy that is like this evil fucking asshole, but a guy can be really inspirational and maybe he's a little bit mean sometimes, but he gets people to do things. And that pro-social part of the alpha thing is really, 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 really important.
Well, that all rocks on real well, except for the fact that you've got convicted killers in prison right now, and you've got women who are creating, teenage fan clubs to go get with those guys. Now, of course, what happens? Everybody says, well, they're all damaged goods. But the problem is you see this over and over and over again. Somebody just sent me this recently.
Ramirez thing where
people were Anders Breivik, the Boston Marathon bomber, those guys. Those guys.
Jeffrey Dahmer was homosexual and had fucking girls going after him.
It's what's known as hybristophilia. Okay, now are all women hybristophiles? No, but only women are hybristophiles. So there is something that maps on to the attraction to guys who have a capacity for violence and extreme violence as well.
Sure, well, that's kind of true, but like, couldn't I also argue anecdotally that there's a lot of guys that are obsessed with like BPD girls?
Yeah, I mean they're super fun.
Yes, but we're talking about guys who are very antisocial, like provenly antisocial.
I don't know
for violent crimes.
I don't know if that's always the case though, because when you look at like the cult leaders,
they have to actually separate female prison guards from the male population because the guards fall in love with the convicted
Exactly,
killers.
but it's probably because the traits that they exhibit aren't ASPD traits. They're not actually antisocial personality disorder traits. They are, usually a lot of these, especially these cult leader guys, come off as like relatively charming, relatively funny,
Well, most
pretty
people with
charismatic.
antisocial personality disorder come off as
They
well as
can,
being
yeah, they
charming.
can be very manipulative.
Yeah.
But
So-
but the way that they do it isn't because there's this idea of the alpha. It's just like, oh fuck you, bitch, I'm gonna get you. But that's not usually how it goes. It's usually very charming, can get women to do a lot of crazy shit because he's like so manipulative. You know?
So let's just to try to find a common ground here.
Mhm.
Again, the book by Cindy Meston and David Buss of UT Austin. They wrote a book called Why Women Have Sex. They came up with 237 reasons why women have sex. And so the main thing is you're not wrong about any of those things. Anecdotally, we can come up with tons of reasons where a girl is a good girl and then all of a sudden she moves to Miami and she ends up working in a club. She ends up cheating on her fucking boyfriend. We can come up with numerous examples of all these things happening. And the thing is, the main thing I would take away is there's just more variation with women than there is with men. That's the only thing I would take.
I got to say, this is Rob Henderson. I'm sure you're probably familiar with Rob. In modern society, the most violent gang members often have the highest status compared to their non-violent peers. Young male gang members between 14 and 18 years old were 5.7 times more likely to have had sex and 3.2 times more likely to have gotten a girl pregnant.
Sure, but listen to what you just said there.
That's,
That wasn't
August of 2022.
that wasn't the pool boy though. That was for the people at the top of their particular games.
We're also talking about violent.
But they were people
criminals.
that could petition resources, not the pool boy, right?
Violent gang members. I guess they could participate in resources.
Yeah, we agreed earlier that Epstein could, and he was a piece of shit.
So
But
if your point is there are multiple different ways to be alpha, I agree. Totally. I don't.
well,
it doesn't just have to be
but
physical.
The
attraction.
prestige alpha, where you're like a leader and you exhibit a lot of pro-social behavior, I think is the key one that most women are attracted to. It's not just a guy that's an asshole or a guy that's an
I don't know
alpha.
about most, but they're in the middle of the deviation. I would agree with that.
Okay.
Rob Henderson again. A man's height had an enormous impact on how desirable he was to women.
On how desirable, but not the average number of partners.
The most popular men were between 6'3" and 6'4", which of course tracks because that's what they set the filters to.
True, but that study that you always bring up shows that women value relative height more than just absolute height.
See,
You're talking about the 89,
you know, it's funny.
1989 survey, yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because we were talking about this recently. I've kind of changed my opinion on this as far as height is concerned. It's not like I used to say. Well, you know, guys would be like, "Oh, Rollo, I'm 5'9". I'm doomed. I'm never gonna find a chick." I'm always like, "Okay, well, find a girl who's 5'8". That's not enough, because what happens is that guy who's 5'9" stands next to you, and now he looks like the hottest guy in the fucking club because he is the one that's taller than your man. So it's there again. We go back to the perceptual thing once again. It's not necessarily finding the guy who's or finding the woman who's just 1 inch shorter than you. You also have to be be higher, taller than everybody else in the room.
So would you guys say height is a byproduct of height attraction is a byproduct of absolute, or
I think
you're saying
height,
it's not absolute?
I'm saying that height could be an attractive quality, but I
Yeah.
think we jump too quickly from what do you find attractive to what are men, what are women actually
So they're
selecting
not actually
for?
sleeping with them.
They're not
even though
selecting
they're
for it.
saying,
It's just like correct.
I just know too many male strippers who've been with 300-400 girls.
Okay, but like, what percentage of the population are male strippers?
Right, but the thing is, while that is the case,
that's it.
While that is the case, that's the reason why those women are selecting them, because of their physical attractiveness. Like at some point, the 6'3" Australian guy who has six-pack abs, who it just has plethora of women coming after him, does show that women find physical attractiveness.
And I agree with that. Yet there's no shortage of doctors and lawyers, that are happily like in relationships. It's not like some guys like, fuck, like I became a lawyer at a law firm. I'm a doctor. Like I have a six-pack. I'm never gonna find a woman. Like those people don't exist.
But I think what we're talking about though is the guy who can sleep with hundreds of women. I'm not saying they should, but I'm just saying that those guys who can, there's usually something that they do that is above and beyond. They are
True, and the thing that they do that's above and beyond is they go for women. That's the big separator, is whether or not you go after the women or not, right? Because again, when you look at the average heights and you look at the average partners, you're not finding that like all these women, it's like 15 average partners when you're 6 foot plus and only 3 partners for guys. Like even guys that were 5'2" to 5'4", my short kings, no offense, even those guys were on average like 9.1 partners. They were like 4 average partners away from the guys that were 6'5"
I guess I'm
plus.
confused. If the average North American male has 6 partners, how is the 5'2" guy having 9
This was a survey. That number sounds low to me. I haven't heard that before. I thought the average number of partners for the North American male was between 9 to 11. That's what I heard.
Maybe it is. I thought
6
they were
sounds
having
low.
less
It
sex.
might be like average relationships or something, but the average number of partners I've heard. And again, this is a 2015 study, evolutionary psychology, surveyed 60,000 people. So I'm keen to.
So from what I
In the
understand,
United States, or what was
In the United States,
the
yeah.
demographic?
so from what I understand, Destiny, you're saying that if the guy wants it to happen, he'll get more partners.
I'm saying that if you take a guy who's 5'4", makes $36,000 a year, okay, and isn't that in shape, compared to like a fucking Giga Chad 6'2" guy. If the 6'2" guy is like, I'm gonna focus on work and I'll just fuck whatever comes my way, and the 5'2" guy is like, I'm gonna fuck everything I fucking can.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
think
go
any of us disagree with that.
The short dude is gonna pull way more than
there's this thing called the pickup community, of course.
Exactly, yeah. And from that pickup community too, so I'm trying to keep everything data driven. I know you bring up your strippers, but if I want to lean into the anecdotes, something that I hear very commonly from the pickup community, and something that I've seen personally a lot, is you will find these guys in these incel communities. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to some of these subreddits where people will post these pictures. Dude is like relatively attractive, 5'11".
Yeah,
and they're like, I feel like I'm hideous and I can't find like any girls. I don't think any girls gonna like me.
Do you think autism might have a place, a part in that?
It might. It's hard to say.
Autism has increased 178% since 2000.
See, I don't know. So while I hear that before, the problem is, do you guys remember Steve Urkel? You guys remember Revenge of the Nerds? We were fucking making fun of autistic people back in the 80s and 90s because we didn't know what they were. So when we say it's 78% more autistic people, I just think
diagnosed, right?
I just think what happened is we used to just call them nerds, and now we're realizing that they actually have a spectrum disorder. Also, it used to not be a spectrum. It used to just be autism, and now it's a spectrum, so now we can include more people. So I don't know, that could be the case. We can say, hey, you've done the exact same studies for autoimmune disorders. I think a lot of countries didn't know what autoimmune disorders were, so now we diagnose more of them because now we understand what it was.
Yeah, I understand. But so just to circle back on this one more time, that we can move on to this point. I don't know of any trait that guarantees you a high number of partners, despite the fact that we talk about it like that all the time. Like, I can't find research that says if you're 6'2" plus.
How about two traits?
Two traits. I don't know.
The two traits would be
combinations.
The combination would be some form of competency or physical attractiveness, or like, and then combine that with I'm gonna go out every night till I get fucking laid.
Well, but again, the only one that really matters is the latter one. Because the latter one, in the least competent guy in the world, is going to get him laid more than the most competent guy.
I just don't know if you have 33% of men having zero sexual partners. I think there's still
there's like a million guys in like the looks maxers right now.
Well, 33% was for men 19 to 30. And again, I understand we can do a lot of conjecture, but like I said, like I tried to find it. Like, are there these traits? Like, what do I need to have to fuck a lot of women? What is like the trait that will let you do it? And it seemed like the answer was just, if you want to fuck a lot of women, you go for it. Because it does. It doesn't map onto money because it's reversed that way, right? Poor people have more sex than wealthy people. It doesn't seem to map cleanly onto height. Doesn't seem to map cleanly onto BMI. Doesn't seem to map cleanly onto career. The more career-driven people have less children and have less sex.
But then also, like, as far as the poor people and everyone, all those demographics that you just mentioned right now, we also have to take into account age. So if you're looking at like 18 to 30 demographic versus the 30 to 40 to whatever it is. So
also, there's a difference between having wealth and the ability to spend. Like, the willingness to spend, I think, actually might.
I was going to say,
we're in Miami. Dude,
I just had a study here that was saying that like men who are like not frugal, who would like overspend, they're like, it's almost like Findom, right? That were more willing to spend above and beyond, like go take a line of credit out. Those guys had a higher instance of sexual partners.
That wouldn't surprise me, but that maps onto what I was saying earlier. I don't think it maps onto what you guys are saying, and that it maps onto a certain alpha trait. It maps onto what I'm saying is that it's a guy that's willing to fucking do what he needs to get laid. He wants to get laid, yeah. So that spender could be a 5'4" fucking nerd dude that like isn't the most attractive guy, but he's willing to invest time and resources into getting laid.
All of them want to get laid. I think it's who's willing to like move to Brickell or South Beach or move to West. Or move
who's
to
willing to go and
who's
lose
willing to go and physically be there. I think that's the difference
too.
And I think where the delta is, the difference between the guys getting laid and the ones who aren't, are the ones, because we do so many things virtually now. I think it's the ones who are willing to go where the shit is. The guys who are willing to live on 6th Street or live on 6th Street in Austin, Texas, or McKinney Avenue in Dallas.
Sure.
Those guys who are willing to live there or be there all the time, I agree with you.
The ones chasing it, yeah.
Yeah, but I think they all want to get laid.
Sure. But again, to circle back, because it feels like in these circles we talk about these are the traits that are desired by women, and these are the things that women are going for alphas. But then when we look at who's actually having the sex, is not actually those people. So that like theory is totally broken.
I don't know it's totally broken. I think you just add logistics to the previous theory, and then all of a sudden, then you'll see. Because I bet you, if we compared all those guys, we would find that the guys who have more money, or willing to spend more money, or are taller versus the shorter guys, we're going to find that they have more partners.
That is probably true, but all of them are going to outclass the people that aren't trying it off, right?
Let's just say we control for sex addicts. Just sex addicts. If we were to look at just those sex addicts, we find the ones with more symmetrical faces, more masculine features, that are taller, have a V-shaped torso, and actually willing to spend more money, better, more charismatic. Controlling for all these sex addicts, we find that they probably have a better ability. So I think it's both.
Well, that is true. You do
I got one more variable.
Oh, wait, here, real quick on this, because you do a lot of Evo Psych stuff. Are you familiar with like hereditary, inheritable traits and all of that?
Of course.
So very complicated area of research is heritable traits.
Yes.
If I control enough for any trait, the heritability of every single trait will be 100%. If you control away every single variable, then the only thing left to explain the difference is DNA, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so the heritability necessarily of every single trait genetically approaches 100% if you control too much. I agree with you that if we control away for like sex addicts and everything, that we can say like, okay, well there are some traits that women prefer, but if like all the sex addict populations are up here, and then all of the non-sex addicts are down here, and we're like, okay, well, let's control away for these guys. We're getting rid of our biggest explanatory factor for the difference between people that are having success in mating, right?
Only
Right on,
include
Marlboro,
the sex
man.
addicts in the survey,
Sure.
and then compare them to one another.
Mhm.
That's what I was.
No,
saying.
yeah, and I understand. I agree with you. But it's the difference in between groups, because what we're really interested in is we're
I
not
don't hear
really
that.
interested when we're asked these questions of like,
They just
do
don't have
do
anything
these
to
people
add.
get laid more? Do these people get laid more? What we're saying is the thing that matters the most is the
Destiny
difference
is
within
the
these
alpha
groups.
male.
And that's not true. It's the difference between the two groups. And the big factor is the sex addict factor. That's what's going to get you laid. Not if we control away for that and we look at the stuff within, it would be like controlling away for nutrition and measuring height.
That was my
right?
next point. Is like you also have to you also track obesity rates and people being overweight right now.
Mhm.
So again, how is that affecting people's arousal states? as
well, that's true,
How
but
does
again-
how does that also affect the rates of people getting laid and what they're doing to get laid? in
That
the
is
first
true,
place?
but I will say, even in that study, the underweight guys had 8.2 average partners. The obese category 3 people had 9.3.
Yes, but you also have to take into consideration there's going to be way more obese people than there are going to be underweight people, and they're simply just by the law of averages.
Yeah, but even if there were, who cares? Like, if there are way more obese people, they're still having sex. I don't think anybody in the audience cares. Like, well, fuck, there's more of us. So like, it's just.
I think because we're looking at like central limit theorem in this, the difference, it doesn't seem like a big difference between 8 and 9, but if you were to look at it from a percentage standpoint, it is a pretty significant difference. Does that make sense? If we're because there's in that survey, I guarantee there's going to be some zeros and there's going to be some 50s. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely true, which is why I'm glad I
The
have this.
Chippendales calendar still outsells the dad bod calendar.
True, but across most of the height continuum, however, there was little variation in mean or median number of reported sex partners. Further, men between 5'7" and 6'3" varied little in whether they had more than 5 partners, had more than 14 partners, engaged in extra pair sex, or were currently single. So even for the extreme outliers of 5+ or 14+ partners, it didn't seem to matter as much in the height. What mattered is if you wanted to go fuck
I
people.
don't have a huge problem with this. What
Okay,
you're saying is
sure
that
is.
these things matter. It's just that
That's so
the
fun.
thing you think that matters the most is, I would say, logistics. Like if you were to say, what is the thing for me that got me around the most attractive women, is that I live on the strip in Las Vegas. I live on the strip in Las Vegas. I would go out to clubs and there'd just be hundreds of women every time I went out. And so that if you're making that argument, sure. But I think where we may differ is you may say that's 40% of the total equation, and then say looks, money, status would be the other part, whereas somebody else might say, well, then no, that's a small part of the equation. I think logistics has been totally overlooked by the pickup community.
Sure,
You guys,
you
hold
might
on.
believe-
You guys are actually both correct. Like if you because by being logistically put in the right place, you're around more women, which is what he's arguing.
Yeah.
Volume.
If you're arguing that,
You're
I
arguing
agree with
volume,
you.
He's arguing logistics, but here's the thing: you guys marry them together, and you end up with more volume by default, being in better logistics.
No, sure, but when he talks logistics, I would say that's probably like 90 to 95% of the explanatory power. That if you are in an area, warm spaces where you're making friends with women, you're gonna fuck. It's almost inevitable.
I'll tell you where
both right.
I tell you where I differ.
Sure.
I think there's men below the what's it called, the I don't want to throw this all in
Like a floor of looks or something, or
not a floor of looks, just fucking weird, just so weird that you can put them around. Because I've seen this, because I have 500 clients. The guys that just literally cannot get laid because they just.
Why are those guys sitting so close together? Can anybody tell me this?
It's 90%. As far as them getting laid, just because of that whole thing, but as far as what you're saying is intent, I don't know if that's the whole thing. Here's where I would differ. When we're talking about very physically attractive women, I don't think those numbers would hold up. I think you do need because those very, very physically attractive women get more stimulus from other males, and that stimulus causes them to do more of a comparative research when they choose to fuck this guy versus this guy versus this guy, unless we're talking about Coke and Molly. Then it's a completely then it's a
I
completely
understand. Yeah, and I understand what you're saying. And again, that's a nice theory. I just don't know if there's any
Coke and
data.
Molly
to support
sounds like
that.
a dream.
Again, it seems like if you're around women, you will fuck those women.
Do we need
That's just like-
we need data to know that if you're like a fat fuck and you get in the gym and you go there for 6 months, you put on muscle and you come down in body fat, that you're going to get more attention from women, or are you going to get less attention?
I think we do, because I think people know of the guys that go to the gym, and they, like I work in fucking influencer industry or whatever. Like there are so many guys that have like fucking 9 out of 10 bodies that have no fucking self-esteem. They carry that fat kid energy with them their entire life, and they
but
have
are
a hard
getting
like,
more attention from women.
They can, but they
Whether or not
fumble
they
it. They
can
fumble it so
capitalize on
hard.
is irrelevant.
And this is where the PUA community, where a lot of coaches, I know there are coaches that will talk to me about this.
Women
You get these guys.
like to fuck them, even if whether they have the social skills to get there in the first place.
Let's use a video game analogy. I used to be like a semi-pro Madden player.
Okay.
Speed, agility, awareness, change of direction, all these things. Let's get them all at least
Max
to
your
80.
stats.
Let's get them all at least to 80, and then add the logistics in, and then that would work. I think that's good advice, and that's a vector to go forth. Now, when you say, well, I know some women who will only date guys who have loaded tattoos, and some guys who won't. Some women who are only interested in African American men, and some women who will not be interested in them. So the divergence is so incredibly strong in those different things. I think if we get all of our sliders up to a certain bit, like if you're playing FIBA or MLB The Show or Madden or whatever, if we just all of us have those sliders up to a certain point, I think we're going to do well. As far as a prescription is
muscles, and
concerned,
game.
I mean, you guys agree on a lot of points.
Well,
I mean,
sure. Real quick, I think the prescription, the reason why I fight on this, the prescription, I think, is you need to find a way to get into warm spaces with other women.
logistics.
That is like the number one
Agreed. I don't disagree with
successive
that.
indicator.
Of
Yeah.
course, where the
But it
fish
feels
are.
like in red pill spaces, we spend 99% of time talking about getting your money up, getting your muscle
They're in
up,
love.
and then maybe like learning game.
What red pill spaces are those?
Fresh and fit.
Yeah, but the problem is.
Do you know of any
fresh
other
and-
red pill spaces?
I said can I say her name here?
Go ahead, bro. It's fine.
I watched a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of the Just Pearly Thing stuff. I've seen a lot of Fresh and Fit stuff. I've seen a lot of clips of like Tate. I've seen a lot of like advice videos from Andrew and Tristan. Although their advice for thinking of women is actually generally pretty good.
But they did say the 9 is not at the mall. You're going to meet the 9 at certain parties. You remember that one clip that Andrew Tate had? The other thing is where are we right now? We're in Brickell. We're in the middle of the shit. We're in Da Nang right now.
Sure.
This is where the women are.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Like we're in the middle. So while you're saying that, we do prescribe logistics. I have some pretty significant criticisms of the pickup community.
Sure.
Logistics is one of my main ones. The logistics and not using social media at all. They were 10 years behind the curve on social media. Those things, that's where the pickup community screwed up. So I agree with you about his logistics. Of course,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
I think we all agree for the most part, right? That we need, once again, to want to have girls in our life. And as a result, location means you have game. So the foundation is going to be having these traits of
Well, you need to acquire resources to afford a place in the tallest building
Fish
in
where the
Florida.
fish are.
Well, not necessarily, because it could literally be just having a job where you're around a lot of women. It could be joining the right
A
classes
nurse.
in high school.
A male
where
nurse.
you have, like, yeah, there was a girl I went to fucking high school, and I fucking joined the fucking bullshit ass, what is it, like
The
play
choir.
theater or
Yeah,
whatever
dude, oh
after
my
school.
God, choir, you
yeah,
get so
and
much.
holy
Male
shit, it's like
cheerleaders.
60-40,
Totally
yeah,
agree.
to like women to men. And like when you're in those spaces, you have to be fucking, unless you're literally hyper autistic,
Dude,
you're gonna be fucking, right?
The manager of the strip club, the male,
Hooters?
the bartender, the guy who
Cooks?
manages the Hooters, yeah, for sure. Those guys, the what are they called? The bussers at the top end.
Yes. The bussers at Wendy's, or not Wendy's, at fucking Denny's or whatever.
security.
The bussers at Live, the bussers at Access, the bussers
Sure.
at fucking Zook. Exactly. Yeah.
Shout out to my barbacks.
Real quick, I'm gonna hit these chats real quick, and then
Go
we'll get
for
to the next topic. So we covered the vasectomy, we covered the mating strategy, dual mating strategy. We covered divorce a bit. I don't know if you guys want to go deeper into it. Next is going to be promiscuity for females.
Sure.
All right, so we got here. Angel goes contextual amoral alpha in society, aka Mr. Do It All, level 99 stats on everything. Biblical times alpha is King Solomon, 1,000 wives. Modern alpha would be Henry Cavill. Christian
Marlboro,
Grey,
man, you're
6 foot,
hilarious.
6-pack, 6-figure earner, charming, handsome, and dominant and charismatic.
Can
Okay.
you have 1,000 wives or 800?
Henry Cavill can't be alpha because he plays Warhammer 40,000.
Sloan Fidel goes, Rollo is fake. Said that all high value men exercise their options except him. Either he's lying and cheats or doesn't have options. He's two
Hey,
of mine.
let me tell you something
in
real
this
quick.
pick.
Let me tell you something real quick. I surround this dude with hot women all the fucking time. Go watch Access Vegas
The
if you don't believe
opportunity
me.
is always
The
there.
opportunity. If Rollo were single, this motherfucker would have AIDS. Like it's crazy. Thanks. Like bro, he'd have simple AIDS.
And it goes,
Bro.
and I'm 61. I challenged Rollo and he refused. Still on the table. I'm Italian. He's not. Okay, Sloan Fidel.
Let's
I
go.
appreciate that. Hey guys, like I said before, just to keep the debate going and everything, and we don't interrupt. We're only reading $100 and up super chats. However, every single chat will be shown on screen. So thank you guys so much for the support. So
Can
the
I
next
ask,
topic.
real quick, so
Go ahead.
do we still believe in pair bonding, or?
So that goes into promiscuity.
A little bit, but it's going to be in the still mating thing too.
I love this topic. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay,
Before we do, just right quick, just to tag something on the end here, is like when I asked you, like, do you know of any other red pill communities? Of course, you can name the nameless one, but
Hey, I'm interviewing her on the 24th. I just want to point that out.
I want to point out also that the red pill doesn't begin and end with Fresh and Fit or Tate or her or myself even. Okay, I think that's what's throwing everyone off right now. So everybody sees one thing and they go, oh, that's what the red pill's about. Oh, it's about vasectomies. Oh my God, that's so one tweet or one image and one perception colors the rest of what you're talking about. So up to this point, we have a pretty good civil debate. I think so, right? But so are you getting that from us, or are you getting that from whatever podcast? Are you getting that from like a Reddit, forum? Are you getting that from a Discord forum? There's so much more to it than just like podcasts. Just what we're.
I feel like everything that I've expressed so far, I've heard you say almost directly. Generally, everything I've expressed in this debate, like I've looked at videos, I've
but again, like even the ripple, like I've been doing this for close to 20 years. Well, actually, a little over 20 years right now. And I'll even say right now, like it doesn't begin and end with me, and it won't begin and end with these guys.
Would you say the term is a placeholder, like the term alpha male? Right. Red pill is a because I think people can be.
There needs to be a different term.
This may offend some people. I don't think anyone can be red pill. I think you can be red pill aware. I think that's about it. Like the idea of all of us saying, hey, the likelihood of us getting divorced would cause us to have a prenup is red pill aware.
Sure.
I don't think anybody can be red pill.
Yeah, that's fine. And there doesn't have to be like an exact group. I'm just trying to, I'm broadly referring to a broad set of, or vaguely referring to a broad set of ideas, collection of ideas.
Like I hate when I see like fucking super racist, misogynistic shit, and I see these in the comments. I fucking hate the fact that I'm associated with this shit. I hate it. But at the same time, hilarious. But at the same time, I also understood like here's the thing. There's two. I meant to say this before. There's almost like the Song of Ice and Fire. There's two forces that are coming together here.
Yeah.
One of them is let's create a healthy family structure, and the other one is let's not get fucking used by these 304s. And they're just fire and ice, just blasting each other. And for Sneeko, it's way further in the let's create the family structure. And for a lot of these guys who have no sexual prospects whatsoever, it's like let's not get used by the 304s. And these two forces are pushing against each other, which is causing what these divisions and this debate. That's why
it's so hard to give an elevator pitch for the red pill. Because there's so much. So like there's guys who just want to get their dick wet, okay? Then there's guys who want to be on their game and maybe they want to start a family, right? Maybe they're the guys who are already in a sexless marriage, and they want to figure out how to get their wife to have sex with them again. There's so much going on. Like that's the thing that just drives me insane is I have to be an expert on like neurology, endocrinology, sociology, anthropology, and all these little subfields because they all in some way like dovetail into what we to red pill awareness.
Sure, and that's fine.
So, real quick, before we get into the next topic, which is going to be female promiscuity and how it affects them for pair bonding and or marriage or whatever it may be. Just so you guys know, June 2nd, we're going to have an event with Valuetainment and Adam Sosnick over at the Saucecast. If you guys want to go ahead and meet us live, it's going to be in Fort Lauderdale, June 2nd, 2023. 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. We're going to basically have a whole event, probably like an after hours live for y'all. So if you guys want to meet us, go ahead and get your tickets.
And there's 3 tiers here.
There's 3 tiers that you guys can get in. Whether it's the regular general admission at $100, the premium at $250, or the $500 at VIP. You guys get to meet us. I'll be there signing books. I'll bring a couple copies with me. So yeah, man, if y'all want to meet us, check us out. Go get the links in the top description. Go ahead.
And speaking of Valuetainment, we will be on Jedediah Bila both together.
We'll be on Jedediah Bila on Wednesday. We'll be, I don't know if you are, but we're going to be on Adam Sosnick on Thursday. And then in August, Patrick Bet-David is coming to Vegas to do my show. So that's what we're doing.
Sweet. So yeah, guys, we got a bunch of things going on. So yeah, June 2nd, guys, go ahead and get your tickets now because they probably will sell out because we got them at some pretty good fair prices for you guys. So let's go. So was that? Oh, and it's pinned in the comments as well, top of the description. There you go. So let's go ahead and go to female promiscuity. I'll let you lead it off, Destiny, because I know you have some point of contention with this.
Yeah, I'm curious. Do you think that pair bonding is real?
Yeah. So the thing is it real? It's a spectrum. So there are 5,000 species of mammals on Earth right now. 3% of them pair bond. So pair bonding is not a normal. The difference for people don't understand the difference between the evolutionary difference between mammals and say lizards, reptiles, is the development of the neocortex. Mammals have live births. Lizards do not. They lay eggs and they don't care for their young the same way. So one of the adaptations for mammals is the fact that they care for their young. The necessity, that's the investment by the male and the female, and different mammals have different amounts of investment for the males. And so the thing is with Homo sapiens, do I believe in pair bonding? I believe that the way Homo sapiens, this is the way Dr. Buss describes it. It is a lifetime of polygamy. Polyandry. I'm sorry. Polygyny, polyandry, polygamy.
Polygyny.
No, polygyny is two women and one man. Polyamory, a type of polyamory interspersed with small periods of monogamy. That's how I would answer the question. So there's not one total answer for it. Pair bonding in the Pleistocene times would be a man staying with his wife for at least 3 years until the child would be able to walk. That part I do agree with.
Do you believe in like the oxytocin love chemical?
Absolutely,
and all that?
Yes. 100%.
Okay, so here's a question that I have essentially around this pair bonding oxytocin thing. why would women have two indicatory like reproductive strategies here? Why would she have oxytocin that bonds her to a party, but also be drawn to the alpha fucks, beta bucks reproductive
She has a
strategy?
higher reproductive cost.
Great question. So the thing, she has a higher reproduction cost, but the reason why this is a relevant question is her cheating on her man does not afford her more. Remember David Buss's article. It does not afford her more children. She does not have. She could have the most children possible by aligning with one alpha male, just to use that term, one alpha male, and then having as many children as with every 2 or 3 years. That would be the for her to have the highest level of offspring. Where we're probably going to separate is I believe in the mate switching strategy. So I think she's cheating to find better sperm. He may say something to the effect of she's cheating to have sperm and then have the other beta be cucked. I don't know, but that's the answer. One of those two things would be the answer.
Strategy, put it that way.
Yeah, one of those two things would be the answer.
Well, the other thing
it
is
just
you
seems
have to define like what is reproductive success for female and the male. Okay, so for reproductive success for that woman is quality. I want to find the guy who's the best quality guy that I can get. He's got to be, like I said, the 6'6", right? 6 foot tall, everything else. He's got to be the best quality. Guys are scattershot. Again, it's the R and the K reproductive models, I guess. Okay, men tend to be much more R selected. Women are K selected, meaning that they're going to want to be more because they have to.
Well, for
they
the
have
selection, I think
higher
that refers
investment
to
in
the
it.
species. I don't
Yes,
think it refers to.
it does. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, if you were going to like translate it from like what's men's reproductive strategy versus what's women's,
That's super
men,
chat. I agree with this.
we're ejaculate and evacuate, right? It's get in, get the job done, and go. Because for one ejaculation, we have like 1 million sperm, so it's scattershot, right? For women, it's one. It's the what is it? Sperm is cheap and
The way so it's a parental investment hypothesis. The way you said it before is there's so much less investment necessary for a man than for a woman, and so for a man to pass on his genetics, a quantity of women would be more important than quality, and for women to be the opposite.
Well, in a pragmatic sense, I'm not saying that's the most ethical. I'm not saying it's immoral. I'm not saying whatever. I'm just saying in the most pragmatic sense.
I understand all of that. Okay, I'm going to bring all of this crashing down, okay? I hear that we talk about this as a theory a lot. I don't think anybody is a proponent of this theory anymore. You brought up Buss, and I know that you said you have contentions with Buss's current work is because he no longer believes in this kind of like dual selection strategy. Do you believe
in a mate switching strategy?
No.
You don't believe in a mate switching strategy?
I think that when I looked up data for what were the most reproductively advantageous ways to conduct themselves throughout all of human history, humans seem to practice something called serial monogamy. So we date, we break up, we date, we break up.
That's what I described. Yeah.
And that is, not only is that what we tend to practice, that is the most successful reproductive strategy.
Yeah. But that's a mate switching strategy.
But it's not like you dump somebody immediately just to like upgrade, because that, I don't think there's any evidence for that. There's no data for that.
The thing is, how do you make data for upgrade? Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
sure. So here are some things that people measure. So one thing is EPP, I think it's called extra pair partners. When people do broad research in society and they try to find like how many people are having these extra pair partners, how many people are married to the beta bucks and then fucking the alpha guys for the genetics, the highest rate you can find in the poorest of areas is 6%. But globally speaking, it's about 1 to 1.5% in almost all areas. So the idea that women are going out to fuck men and then coming back to their beta guys, there's no data to support that. Not only is there no data to support that, from an evolutionary point of view, it actually doesn't even make sense if you really think about it, because human females don't actually give any outward indication when they're fertile. So, for instance, we talk about Estes, the Estes stuff, right? Yeah. So, for instance, we talk about like cats. If I wanted to be an alpha male cat and have a fuck ton of kids, that's a very easy thing to do, because you can see when cats are in heat, when they're in their Estes, right? You find the cat that's screeching, and then you fuck them, and you have a kid, and then you peace, and you can get a lot of cats pregnant that way, I imagine, if you're a tomcat and you're trying to fuck a lot of cats. Yeah. But for human females, the only way to ensure actual reproductive success is, because they don't give any cues externally about the status of their fertility, is to just stay with one and have sex over long periods of time.
But there are still studies that show that women act differently when they are narcissists.
There are studies that show that women have different preferences sometimes when
they
are different parts. Yes, but it's whether or not they act on those. And this is the importance of measuring extra partner pairings, is that you can ask a woman, do you think that certain men are more attractive at different parts of your period, or at different parts of your ovarian cycle, or your cycle, basically? And women will say yes, but they don't actually act on it.
So you're just saying that these are preferences, but they don't act on it. Because there's a study, again, at the end of Why Beautiful People Have More Daughters by Satoshi Kanazawa and David Allen, where they talk about women actually retain more sperm from men that they cheat with than men that they don't cheat with. And that was part of the reason why the dual mating strategy came about was because of those
And
studies.
there's also some. I'm a big fan of Dr. Marty Hazelton. I've been using her work since the very earliest days. Also a student of Dr. David
Dr.
Buss.
Buss.
Okay, and so in her, she's got a book called Hormonal, and it's basically the ovulatory shift. Because what we're talking about here is ovulatory shift. Okay, so when we talk about the dual mating strategy, ovulatory shift proposes that when a woman is in her proliferative stage, when she's in the ovulatory stage, she's looking for a guy with more masculine features. She's looking for the guy who's going to like slit throats, right? When she's has had the when the egg has already dropped and she's already passed the ovulatory phase, she gets into what's called the luteal phase. In the luteal phase, that's when she's looking for comfort. She gets into what Dr. Marty Hazelton has said is a sort of a nesting. And what it translates to is when a woman does get pregnant, she goes through. I want to say it's the first trimester or like maybe the second trimester. She goes through what's called the nesting phase, where she like wants to like put all the get the baby crib and everything else. But like if you think of this in a shortened version throughout a 28-day cycle, that nesting period is right.
Dude, the last thing I want to listen to is this guy tell me about women. So, I hope you guys had fun. I did, and I love Destiny. It's a lot of fun listening to him talk to these guys. But I will talk to you guys later. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and I'll see you on the next show. Shouts out to 666 Marlboro Man, Chris Regpick, and Arafat Nakba. Thank you guys for participating in the chat. And I will see you. I am OG420 later. I am at Twitter at Nays Garden. Yeah, Marlboro Man. I'm on Twitter at Nays Garden, you guys. All right. Thanks so much. You guys take care.